very good evening to you. Welcome to Obinna Show Live. Another beautiful day that we get to bring for you a motivational, inspirational conversation that when you get to listen to, you might get to pick a few things that will be able to change your life for the better. For tonight's episode, I'm hosting a very good friend of mine, a mentor of mine, and of course, a learned friend. Yeah, I'm saying that nowadays since I went back to school now, I'm pursuing my degree. So now... So inasema learned. Kidogo nilikuwa nasema tu learned. Yes, the one and only Dr. Ezekiel Mutua.
Yes.
Did I say it correctly?
Absolutely.
EGH,
Yes.
nini.
Yeah.
Hizo titles zote? MBS.
Yeah, CEO.
CEO.
Yeah.
Speaking of CEO, you're among the greatest CEOs that I know.
Oh,
I'll be telling you why.
I was once rated the best CEO of a state parastatal.
Oh.
All the state parastatals in Kenya, and there are over 500, because that included universities. I was once number one.
Uliwangaria wote.
Wote at a vice chancellors.
Told you?
Yes, by the Public Service Commission.
Greatest CEO.
Yes.
Karibu sana.
Thank you, sir.
You are a hard gentleman to find.
I apologize for coming late, first of all.
No, that's fine. You are the CEO. Come on.
Nisamehe
We
sana.
waited for you.
Kwanza tuanze hiyo. Naomba radhi.
Mumemsamehe?
Naomba msamaha mashabiki.
No, it's fine. At least you made it.
It was beyond my circumstances, beyond my control.
Yeah.
But at least I'm happy you waited for me.
I was hoping you don't cancel.
No, I couldn't. I couldn't
Yes, I was
cancel
like,
for
asituambie tu,
anything.
unajua president amenipigia simu
Eh?
tutoke nje ya country kidogo.
You know it happened, Oga Obinna.
It happened.
You know, in 2019, one time I was driving around 8 in the morning to the office, just around Serena. I see a funny call, and then I thought, let me pick. And is that Dr. Mutua? This is State House, Nairobi. The president would like to see you. Gate D. So I turn. Do you know I ended up on a trip the same evening to Atlanta, Georgia?
Where? I want to be you.
So I go to State House, and the president tells me, Kinyua is here. That time he was the head of public service. These people I would like you to take to Tyler Perry Studios. There's something going on there. You know, one of the ladies was a finalist at Miss Universe. And, you know, a normal day, normal week, airborne through France, Atlanta, Georgia for a week.
Wow.
It happens. So it's possible.
So it's possible.
Yes. I've received some calls from State House at 10. Sorry for the short apology. Short notice. We require you in State House in the next 20 minutes.
So what do you do?
You just find your way, bwana. These guys drive crazy. Sometimes we leave the car and run. The president is waiting for you. Yes.
Has the president ever called you in the middle of the night?
Not the current president, but the previous one, yes.
Uhuru?
Yes. Wewe moro cop. Amuka. Ni kitu gani nasikia mumembani? You are not good for my government. You are banning everything. That time I think he had been appointed, he was championing ICT something. Yeah. And then I banned everything, left and right and center. I told him, Your Excellency, I am doing it for your legacy. You will have no country if you allow this madness. I'm happy that he listened to me.
How did you even go back to sleep after that?
My friend,
tu?
Kuna simu unapatanga and you don't sleep. Last week I had an experience like that. Last week I had an experience that kept me awake the whole night. Last Wednesday.
President Ruto called you.
Sikulala.
What did you do again?
Night, my staff were in the office until 4 in the morning. Nikwambia mwende mulale masaa mawili. Muamuke. You're being asked for a speech. You're being asked for a program. You're being asked for this and the other. It can be chaotic. So you're right. It can happen.
It can happen.
And Obinna will not matter now.
I know. Thank God today, Atlanta, Georgia did not happen.
No. There's no state of chaos. Yeah.
And we've had you. So asante sana.
Thank
you so much for coming.
My absolute pleasure.
So initially, I never used to understand you. Mm-hmm.
What's the way to begin?
There's a direction I'm going with it.
About me that you never used to understand.
I never used to understand what you want or what pleases you.
Yes.
And if people are supposed to please you or please God or look for money. And then later, I started understanding you, but now most Kenyans still don't understand you. That is why now we are here. There's a time when people used to call you Deputy Jesus.
Then moral cop.
Moral cop.
Let me tell you, Obinna, I don't know. There's a lady She was who? Somebody Kimani. She worked for KTN and then she went to BBC. What was her name? You can't remember. But she's
Edith Kimani.
Edith Kimani. Yeah. Edith Kimani came all the way from London to interview me in 2017. Okay. And these are the words she says. If it is on the YouTube. You are either an incorrigibly delusioned man or you are a prophet ahead of your time. You can imagine.
Okay, the prophet ahead of your time, that might be true.
Incorrigible delusionment is not me.
Yeah, people used to think that I want you to clear the air. Your life is so bad.
Miserable.
Yes. Pathetic. So you want to make other people's life also miserable.
Oh,
so
no.
that mutwin.
Yes.
Like unaona mtu mwingine afanya kitu mzuri, unataka tu umkasirishe. Mtu alikuwa anatoa ngoma. That's an ethic. What was the issue with you and ethic?
The ethic.
Ethic walikuwa anatoa genge tona and others. But ilikuwa tu ethic kidogo. Hii ngoma yenyu. Hii ukakuja ukokota Saru sijui wapi. Weka
Saru ni wajuzi na tuko marafiki bwana.
Oh, Saru mlimeka men.
You can go and say. But ethics.
Yes.
Walitoa wimbo inaitwa Mlambezi wa Mnyonyezi. Then it went like a wave. One time, I think in
2018.
Those are sailors.
Mlambezi is sailors.
Yeah.
Ethic ni Tarimbo.
Ethic Tarimbo. Those ones, Tarimbo, ndio tulianza na wao. I got the song removed, pulled down from YouTube. Okay. I gave them 1 hour to remove. Because some of those songs that were degrading women is unethical, it's unconstitutional, it's wrong.
Yeah.
There was another one of a guy who was saying, you know, if you're jilted, if you're a boy and you're jilted by a girl,
it's called taka.
Ati nitakuja kwa mazishi yako, nitacheka okay. No. I think we were bordering on madness, and I had to stop it. Somebody had to say, no, this is wrong. And now coming back to Wamulambez, it picked like a wave, and he would go for meetings, and it's like the national anthem. One time we go to Kwale with the UN. We ended the UN Youth Week, and the minister, there were about 5 ministers. And these youths, you could not be cheered or celebrated, even your speech cheered, if you didn't say Wamlambezi or Mnyonyezi. I stood up, and Magoha, the late Magoha, agreed with me. And he said to end with that nonsense. There was another time, hii wimbo ya Diamond Platinum, inaitwaje Tetema. Tetema, kina Esther Passaris, kina Madam Anne Waiguru, they were doing a campaign for Jubilee that time. I think that some women group, and they were playing it everywhere. And it was picked by schools, and you go to a school and a young kid is gyrating and twerking and singing before their parents, tetema kama umepigwa shot, tetema kama generator. And to stop it, because this kid doesn't know the lyrics and the meaning. That song is very dirty when you look at the lyrics. It's only the Tanzanians somehow called the yes. It's not explicit. But I looked at it and said, just the same way you cannot serve beer. Beer is not illegal. Cigarettes are not illegal. But the same way you cannot go to a school event and serve beer. You cannot go and play adult songs or adult material in a school compound or in a school event. I was not popular, but I like those leaders because Esther particularly called me and said, we didn't know the lyrics.
Okay.
Now, and it stopped. You can't hear those songs.
There was nothing personal.
No, there was nothing personal. And I was the regulator. I was the Oga Obinna. Right now, that is not my space. I can advise, but it's not my purview in terms of the law and the mandate. But that time, that was my work, to protect what Kenyans were watching, particularly impressionable, groups like the youth, to ensure that content that is served, because content is powerful.
True. What
people see shapes their views and their opinions. It shapes their values. And so if you allow people to have the culture of anything goes, where we show all manner of programs during Watershed, where kids are likely to be watching or listening, the side effect of it would be normalizing vulgarity, normalizing drinking, normalizing smoking on drugs and so on. And consequently, we would have a situation where we have now, particularly in the parts of Central Province. Remember, Oga Obinna, when Mackenzie, the one who is now being prosecuted, started his live TV, I investigated that TV and banned it.
Oh.
Yes, and took him to court. Then he was released on 10,000. We took him to court again. And I wish people listened to us then. That was 2016, 2017.
Could have stopped it.
Okay? We would have stopped now the mantras, the deaths of over 400 people who are being exhumed in Shakahola. We were serious with our job. We were serious because we believed if you normalize unethical behavior, like, vulgar language, obscenity, nudity, and you parade it as the way of life, even some of these powerful programs that could be presenting beauty, but in a way that it is misleading, that if you are slender and tall, you are beautiful, and that is what beauty is. And making our kids feel, if I'm a plum, I am not cute. It was wrong. We needed to appreciate that. You remember in the beef with South Soul, when they did their song Melanin, I was okay with the lyrics. When they did the video with a girl twerking, I banned it. Of course, it sold South Soul. They are saying that's the best-selling video.
Do you think that you had the good idea and good intentions, but the way you delivered it was wrong?
I actually, Oga Obinna, both my master's and PhD are in communication studies.
Okay.
I don't want to blow my trumpet, but you don't get them like me. I'm the best, both in terms of experience and in terms of education. I'm the best that this country has. It's only that we don't value. So I was using the law and interpreting the law. In fact, in some of those cases, Oga Obinna, you can't believe it, I went to court and prosecuted on behalf of the board using the law. I prosecuted the case on Rafiki. Okay, you remember we banned that film?
Yeah.
I went, Kenya Breweries took me to court because I told them to remove all their beer adverts from the watershed, past 10, or do away with them. There was another one by PSI, condoms that were, and flavors that are liked by children, strawberry, chocolate, and they were coming at 7. Okay? But I was following the law. I was not just, and then there was the shock effect, because if you just communicate nicely, professionally with the letters and so on. I'm a journalist, and they say when a dog bites a man,
okay,
it's not news.
Now I get.
So that's actually controversy. What they were thinking was controversy meant parents wake up, meant churches wake up, meant educational institutions wake up. And it actually created a national conversation that helped my campaign to take effect. In any case, when I went to KFCB, their annual budget was 88 million. Because nobody valued that mandate. They were like, what do you guys do? That we classify films. Pateni wao pesa kidogo tu, just to run their whatever. But when I brought this debate, that budget went up to 250, to 340, to 450, 580, 650.
Annual.
And they would go to parliament, would go to the budget committee and negotiate. And they say, oh, Mutua, what you're doing is very important. And members of parliament, I remember one time there was a headline in the Nation after I appeared before a parliamentary committee, and it was MPs demand for more money for the moral cop. Because I told them our children are going to hell on a handbasket as we watch. They are being introduced to drugs, to violence. Kids are buying PlayStation, parents are buying PlayStations for their kids, and as there is explosion, cars being banned and houses being banned and bombed, that is not a good play station. The games in the PlayStation, the movies kids were watching even from Netflix. Some of them, the argument was, but it's a parent who is subscribing. But I would argue, Oga Obinna, if you go to subscribe and you find a movie rated 13, you'd say, that's okay for my kid if she's 13. But 13 of America is not 13 of Kenya. It needed someone who has gone to school, somebody who has the right exposure, somebody who is mature enough, somebody who has a family, somebody who can think as a leader to tell parents there is a problem. Okay. That classification in Netflix and on these foreign movies must conform to our own culture and our values. Otherwise, in the US, using F word is not an issue.
By the way.
Okay? Even a kid will say, we use the F word. Here, you can't say that to your mother. You can't use an F word to parents or to adults. You can't use it in mixed company. So I was saying we have our own culture. And I took this debate a notch higher. I mobilized the entire African continent, the other classification boards, from South Africa to Nigeria. And we came together and formed something called African Content Harmonization Regulation Committee, where I was the vice president. In fact, the only reason I was the vice president is because the first meeting was in South Africa and the host had to be the president. It was my initiative. I mobilized the African continent to have the first African film pavilion in Cannes, in France. 100 years of that film bonanza. It is the first time during my time through my own initiative. So I was not a zombie. You know, I was looking at kids that I used to teach, some of them in secondary, and they're the ones making noise in town. And I was like, you will grow up and have children, and you realize that you need more than, pampering kids. You need to tell them it is not time to watch TV. You need to go and sleep.
You need to be a
and the rules need to be obeyed. But now these guys were introducing something funny, and I'll give you a good example. Okay. I watched one of the films that I like, and it came during Watershed. And the daughter-in-law is telling the mother-in-law, shut up, or I'll slap that mouth of yours. You know you can't say that in a normal African content. You know the film, the movie I'm talking about. And we were watching it. One time, even my own brother Churchill, there is one of the comedians who appeared on his show, and I had to ban it and say that guy should never appear again. Because when we appear and normalize certain things that our kids are picking, and not because it's wrong, but it's who Oga Obinna is. If it's Oga saying it, if it's another riffraff in the streets, it may not matter. But this guy is influential. This guy is loved by our children. You are seen as the role model. So I will have a bigger beef with you because of your talent and the influence you have than I would have with another run-off-the-mill comedian, because they are not Oga Obinna, they don't have very much influence.
Do you believe that we need budget from KFCB to train artists on how to communicate better? Because, for example, like Ethic, for example, when they used to do these songs, you know, Gengeton was big, and then they were talking about the way things are. Even Abanto now, they just speak the things the way they are. But they have no father figure to sit them down and say, no, you know, you want to talk about this glass, but children are listening. Okay, find a nicer way to.
Not only that, there's a different philosophy around it, and I hope you don't lose your train of thought. There's murder in society, there's rape, there's corruption. You don't glorify it. My problem was not that we are depicting those things, because they are normal, they are real. If it is about even mpango wa kando and all this stuff, illicit sex and so on, drugs, they are real. My problem was when you glorify it. I'll give you the case of the film Rafiki, which we sat with Wanuri Kayu in my office. I served her tea, and I told her, my sister, I want us to walk the journey together. So I called the examination guys, because we had expertise, by the way, guys who are more competent than me, who would rate those things. And it was a mixture of either the age, gender, and even cultural diversity. We had even people, some Goans, some English people. I called Wanuri and told her, let us watch together and let's see them, how they rate. And when we watched, she agreed that this film is a good film, but when we end up with the girls kissing, we are normalizing lesbianism. It was a very small portion of that film that we had issues with. I even went on Jeff Koinange's show the following morning, because she had agreed to cut, and praised the film, only for her to come back and tell me I'm not cutting anything. So you see, people are also letting me down. We can't strike a deal, and I show her why we are taking this decision. But I think I was also a good spot for many people, that if I ban, they would gain favor with their donors, particularly. But I meant like... So come back to your communication.
Communicating to the artist direct. Like, for example, the Gengeton artists, most of them, even Abanton artists, they have nobody talk to them. Instead of just banning, and then wanakwazile, oh, me ban, watch out kunye, so it's the loggerheads.
Absolutely, I agree with you.
Would it be easier to go like, guys,
to train
let me call
and
you
engage
guys.
them?
Like now you're at MCSK. It's easier for you to liaise with KFCB. And call people for seminars and say, guys, you want to do this, we get it. But if you do this, this will be the consequences. So when people go ahead, there's at least you've been warned.
I agree, absolutely.
Because like that time, most people are just like, and by
the way, it's a problem of government that we don't focus on creating awareness. Okay? However, my brother Obinna, the law is the law. and ignorance is non-defense.
True, that's true.
There is no profession, except this one of media and entertainment, where I see people with so much sense of entitlement that they want to pretend they don't know the law. The guy who is doing carpentry across here, he knows the levels of noise, the decibels that he has to apply. Otherwise, he will be caught up by NEMA. True. The guy who is running a kiosk, they know that there are certain things they can't do. Even the person selling some tea, running a tea kiosk in the village. It's only here where people are so gifted and they are learned and they don't want to follow the law. However, knowing how powerful music, art, and the media is, it's important to have a bigger budget for awareness. In fact, that's what I did. We were the first country to sign with Google. Kenya was the first country for parental, what we are calling digital parenting, so that we get parents to understand the nuances of digital technology and why the kind of sites kids are likely to veer into, and have a conversation rather than banning. Okay. Kenya was the first to sign, then Nigeria, then South Africa. So in terms of being ahead of time, we were okay, but we lacked the synergy with the Minister of Education, with the Minister of Information, and other agencies to create that awareness. Because ours was to apply CAP 222, the Films and Stage Plays Act, CAP 222, okay, which says if the film has this kind of classifiable elements, then you rate it this way. So it's in general exhibition, which is good for everyone. Then it's in PG, where the parent must be present. Then it's not suitable for this age, not suitable for the other. And the cinemas applied those rules. They would even show and say this film has been rated by the Kenya Film Classification Board as suitable for this. And they would not allow a kid who is below that age. Yeah. But, you know, I'm happy we created a conversation. Yes, we had our own shortfalls in terms of communication, lack of budget, and so on. But we were good for the country. What we were doing then, you can see the results now, that we saved the lives. You know, you would see a film like one I went to launch at Anchor IMAX, I think. I had not watched it before. A friend of mine comes to the office and says, "You are the chief guest." And I got to watch this movie. This movie, the husband is cheating, and the wife becomes suspicious, and she hires investigators, and eventually they catch them red-handed. What does the wife do? She has already gotten a gun, and the man is kneeling, and they shoot, and the movie ends.
Wow.
No consequences. So I was like, what are you telling? You are normalizing murder, love affairs, love triangles, and murder. Don't we have such cases now? Yes, on the spiral?
Yes, we
so
do.
That's what we were avoiding. We were saying we should have shown the consequences. Yes, maybe catching them and holding them to account, probably, and if you must then commit that crime, there could have been another scene where this woman is arrested, taken to court, she has rehabilitated, because killing is not the solution. You can't take law into your hands. So there was all that, but to educate people to get to that level was not easy. It was a one-man
no
army.
Budget.
one man army, and I had to do it. But I used my social media. When I joined KFCB, I was not even on Facebook. I was not on Twitter.
IFB is big.
I realized many kids are there. I realized that young people are there. That's where the conversations are taking place. I would trade for 3 weeks.
Ulikuwa Twitter kwa special corner.
Siku moja.
Unamuka
wana huruma.
Fanya nini tena?
Siku moja Oga Obinna. I was called by Sylvia Ambani, a good friend of mine.
Okay.
She's the online, I think, editor for Nation. And then she does not alert me, hey, Daktari, long time. Where sasa, have you seen these lions? So I asked which lion. This one's, these gay lions in Masai Mara. I had no clue. So I asked which gay lions. Who told you they were gay? They've been caught by a British photographer. Mounting, you know, these are gay. These are gay lions. So I say, how did you know? Then she goes on, you know, I don't know that I'm being recorded. In journalism, it's a law. It's against the principle. It's called subterfuge. If you're recording someone, you let them know that they're being recorded. Yeah. So we go on, and I'm being casual because I don't know I'm being recorded. So I say, you know, I suspect these animals are learning this behavior from these wazungus who go to the park and they are misbehaving. Where?
Little did you
My
know.
friend, you know, within 2 hours, I'm being called by people. And you have said this guy Leons have learned this from wazungus. Do you not think ended up with Trevor Noah?
Zindio.
Trevor Noah couldn't.
It was a Daily Show.
Yeah, Daily Show.
Daily Show.
Then I traded. Then a lady friend of mine called Musenya. Musenya starts saying, no, the Wakamba, no, we cannot have this fellow as our tribesman. Let's trade him off to Wamasai. That time Wamasai, they had another guy, he was a minister, he became even a governor. But, you know, because of the bomb blast, I think, so when I say, Apana, we have our own stupid man. Then we take him to Kikuyu. The Kikuyu say they have their own stupid. I was taken to all the tribes until I ended up in Tanzania. But in the process, it became like a challenge. Which tribe now can take this guy? When I was trolled for 3 weeks.
How do you usually take those trolls?
You know, they're very beautiful. They give me some feeling.
Kuna ile yenye maifanya ukakuwa na stress mpaka depression.
The only thing is when, where family is involved or where my kids seem to, somebody meets them and tells them, you know, what's your dad? That like there were several instances where you have to pay attention to how the kids are taking it. But actually,
you personally?
Majority of, no, me personally. But I'm hardened. You know, I became a head boy in primary in 1982. So how can it flows on social media? How can they affect me?
Okay.
My friend in 2001, when I was elected Secretary General of KUJ, there's a time I went to see President Moi. Then I made a mistake. I went with my counsel and attacked President Moi because he used to bash journalists. Then he, instead of, threatening me or sending people to take care of me, he invited me to the State House. So he disarmed me. So I called my counsel and asked them, what do we do? So he said, twende na heshima na tumwombe radhi. We even did a plague and they said, the champion of democracy, something. Very nice plague. Unaenda kwa president bana. Wezi enda na madharau. Because we were like, what gift can we take him? You can't take the president money. So we did a nice plague with the writings in recognition of your role as the champion of democracy and press freedom. My friend, the media took issues with that thing. Secretary General of KUJ, in a meeting with the dictator, then, the most hated man, and you call him champion of what? Of democracy and press freedom. I went bad press like I've never seen, including editorials, you know. Some media was repeated an editorial 3 times. And it was the darkest hour in the history of Kenyan journalism. Then they would draw all manner of caricature, one with a long tongue lying to the president, another one taking money and putting it everywhere in every pocket, so looking like an unprincipled, corrupt man.
Were you guys giving money?
Yeah.
Mulipewa pesa?
Huko naenda kwa Moi bure lakini siku hiyo hatukupewa. In fact, what happened, that day when I had vehicles, we didn't have vehicles. We were broke. That time we were just your ordinary backstreet journalists. We didn't have vehicles. None of us, I think, was driving. So we hired vehicles. There used to be taxis at Hilton. So we hired tukaenda, tungeenda State House na miguu, na tungesema tuko broke. We believed we would get money. So we told these taxi guys that tukitoka tunawasort. We hired, I think, about 6 cars because we are 16. And then lazima Secretary General ni mdie mdosi aende na yake 6 cars from Hilton. Tukaenda haki moja yako tupatie hata ndururu.
Aliwapea kidole.
That time Kalonzo was the Minister for Information. Nikamwambia bwana, my friend, we have been here since morning. Hatuna kitu na mzee upeana. Akaniambia hapana, hawezi patia journalist pesa. Nikamwambia mwambie hatunjalipa hizi magari. You know, Kalonzo switched off his phone. Thankfully, the late Joseph Kamodo, he was the Minister of Education. Kumbi was in State House and he saw how Moi treated us well, how the meeting was nice, and he took my number. So just when I'm desperate and wondering what to do, I get a call and it is Minister Joseph Kamodo. And he tells me, come to KICC, bwana. The guy tells me, man, do you know what you did to us? Mzee alikuwa ametusomea, alikuwa na roho mbaya asubuhi. Wewe uliingia ukamchekesha, ni nini ulikuwa unamwambia? Nataka ukuje mikutano yangu unasema. Nikawekewa 200,000. Ujue naye Mungu sio adhumani.
Which year was this?
This is 2002.
Wow.
Okay?
That was like a million now.
A lot of money.
That's like a meal now.
So, Kamodho says ati mzee aliamuka na roho mbaya. Lakini ulipoingia, somehow, kila kitu ikaenda vizuri. Hata vitu zetu walikuwa amekataa kusaini, amekubali. I wanted to know who you are. Nikamwambia mimi ni kijana ya Kalonzo Musyoka. Na tena tuko na shida. Kabla niseme hata shida, ashaniambia mimi nimekuappreciate sana. I hope Steve amefanya kitu. So unaona amenyonga Steve amenyonga. Man Steve amenyonga Steve.
But you've always had good PR. I think that is why. Like when people meet you, you are a different person from what people think you are.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it also happens to me.
I think I'm more misunderstood.
Yes, myself online, people see me different. When they meet me, like,
you are amazing.
You are. So the same thing even myself, when I started meeting you, I'm always like, even that time when Eric had an issue with you, and I had to call you.
You handled it so
and
well.
Apologize on behalf of Eric. I had to write the letter for Eric and beg Eric to send it to you, and I was going to Central trying to mediate.
Yeah.
When I was talking, you were very kind. I was like, please understand. You're like, it's okay, just tell him not to do this because I'll go an online.
Exactly.
Ananiambia nini? Haizi niambia kitu.
Unajua nilikuwa nakata ile wife material and I was just saying bring it after 10.
Bring it after 10.
Then don't post online because online there is no watershed.
There's no watershed.
Yeah, it's like performing in a public place. There's no watershed. So I was telling him, Eric, I have no problem with if you want to do explicit, but it cannot come. You cannot post it. Yes.
But the way you handled it.
Yeah.
It was different.
Do you know what Mheshimiwa picked it? Mheshimiwa Jalango picked it
now
after
then they came after.
They came to the office, but you are the one who called me. In fact, I think you are the one who paid his bail.
Yes, at night.
You handled it until late in the night.
Yes.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
That letter I sent him, I'm the one who wrote. And I sent him, I'm like, Eric, send. Baka niko na
you are the game changer. And you know what worked for you? You intend a very obnoxious clip, It's still there. I will not mention it in public. I know it. Everything is big.
But do you know I performed that joke at 3 a.m. in the morning in Thika. But problem time ya air, like you said, when you are on digital.
So me when I got your call, I thought actually you were apologizing about your...
I was talking about...
When you are different and you sounded very professional. And then I was like, that's all I wanted Eric to do.
Jana alikuwa anafungwa. Unajua tulikuwa Central.
Yes.
Wanasema mkubwa amesema.
Na mimi nilikuwa Naivasha, I think.
You are not even in Nairobi.
Yes.
Eric ako hapa na kichwa ngumu. Mimi nimeenda hapo kwa cell na angalia mse Central. This guy does not know.
And Eric is my friend. Sometimes I tend to think alikuwa anataka tukosane apate clicks, Because sikuwa naelewa. There are times tulikuwa tunakosana na nauliza ala. Nimekosea nini? Na mimi nampenda Eric.
No, Eric ako hivyo.
Eric
anapiga kama yako ambaye bro usijali.
Imagine.
So me that's what I was wondering. I'm like, what's happening? So when I called you, so since then I've always just been your friend because you related to me differently. They expected you to go like, when in nani? Don't call me useless, Senji, Nini.
No.
But you're very good, which is good.
I've been a leader, like I've told you. I was a school captain all through my school. When I did my A-levels in Tala High School, I was the CU chairman and the school captain. And at that time, when you were in Form 6, you were really mature. In our days, you would actually, after Form 6, you would become a high school teacher. Automatically. Oh. Yeah, it was given. We lived a life that was very predictable. You knew if you are well-disciplined, if you are, responsible, you work hard. Ukimaliza Form 6, shule zilikuwa zinakupigania. Unaenda kufunza secondary. Very serious. And as secondary school teacher was highly respected. So I was mature. And I got into responsibility early in life.
I think will it be bad if I compare with Michuki? Okay, this is what I mean. Prophets, most prophets are normally celebrated after they are gone.
Yes.
After they've left. When you're at KFCB, people are like, wewe ni mubaya. When you left KCB, they were like, well, wait a minute, we can see. When Michuki came with the seatbelt story,
Yes.
yellow line, speed governor, most people were like, what's wrong with you? Nowadays, look at the accidents.
Yes.
Look at the cars on the road.
And if we obeyed Michuki, so many lives would have been saved. Yes.
And even the
So,
economy would have been different.
You are right. A prophet has no honor, particularly during their lifetime.
Yes.
Majority are remembered after death. But let me tell you, Oga Obinna, I see God's blessings
Yeah.
now while I'm living.
Okay.
Do you know, despite all that, trolling when I was at KFCB,
Yeah.
and all the name calling and stuff, do you know, in 2019, I was the chief guest at the Hollywood Film Festival. I flew first class. Okay. I was paid some nice money. I was the chief guest. Out of that trolling and all this bashing on social media, people amplified my philosophy of life and seriousness with content regulation and the power of films in shaping values. And the Hollywood Film Festival board was sitting and they were looking for a guest and they wanted a fresh story. Not the old narrative of black and white and stuff. They wanted a fresh face. You can't believe they settled on me.
So you were in Hollywood?
First class, not just there. I was spending at the Roosevelt Hotel where Kina Will Smith, the Oscar stars, 450,000 per night. And I was there for a week.
Okay, just saying 450,000 times.
Check that hotel during the Oscars.
I've heard of the Roosevelt Hotel.
Yes, that's where I was. I was picked at the airport by the chairman. And he told me this, don't come and tell us what we want to hear. We picked you because of your unique philosophy and outlook of life. We find you very intriguing. I do believe we find you very intriguing.
Kuna baraka fulani iko juu yako hivi na kumulika hivi.
Ni Mungu.
Unagongwa hivi kuna venye Mungu anakupigania tu somehow.
Mungu nipigania because one, I gave my life to God, to the Lord Jesus Christ on the 23rd of June 1984. I was like a small kid, very small, and I started preaching. I have preached to presidents. Do you know I've been hosted by President Bush in Washington, D.C., the United States of America president.
Sasa unaringa sasa.
Si maringo,
kuna mjaluo amejificha ndani yako.
Sasa my friend, hizi vitu unaona hizi. Hizi kuchukiwa. Somehow God turns it into my good. Do you know I was invited to the to White House? When Kibaki came to power. Yes.
White House, State House.
My friend, Washington, D.C. Do you know why I was invited? When Kibaki came to power, by the way, I used to be the consultant for President Uhuru Kenyatta for 7 months. One-on-one. You can check even the profile photo on my whatever, you'll see. I used to be his communications coach. Moi took me and told me, nadaga hii kijana dagua nyuma yangu najukua. I was like mzee, yes sir. Sasa wewe nimeambiwa communication wewe najua saidia yeye.
Fundisha yeye.
7 months, my friend. Do you know I worked for Nation for 9 years. I never could afford a car. Nilitoka bwana, hiyo kazi ya mzee.
Ngoja kwanza
turudi White House.
Turudi White House.
Now, sasa project yetu ikaanguka 2002. President, my candidate, Kibaki came to power. We celebrated. He came to power on the platform of change, fighting corruption and so on. Within 6 months, his ministers became the most corrupt. Some of his ministers were obnoxiously corrupt. I am the Secretary General of KUJ, and then I'm approached by the then
KUJ in full,
Kenya Union of Journalists. My friend, I was elected by all the journalists in Kenya, and that time it was a major feat.
A big deal.
Big deal. You would attend conferences globally. Yeah, it was a big deal, being Secretary General. And then I was working for the Nation Media Group, my friend, not any lesser.
That's where journalists had to go to school.
That was the
and graduate. And
yes.
Nowadays, anybody with a phone.
My friend, journalism was journalism, and Nation, my employer, was the biggest media house in East and Central Africa. We used to get scholarships to the Cantive in Wales. and you would go there without a degree and come back with one and a master's. Back to my story. So Kibaki takes over. Wonderful president, amazing.
Corrupt.
But then there are details emerging about some military procurement, equipment, and so on. And Sir Edward Clay, who was then the British High Commissioner, seeing the courage I had in taking on courses, approaches me and says, I want to give you some money. We investigate, or you mobilize investigative journalists on something. And it brings me dossiers about, procurements that were really flawed and exaggerated. And, it is like a major policy shift, even in terms of who do we relate with, whether it's British or Japan or whatever. And there was a lot of bad things going on. It took a lot of courage. So I side with Sir Edward Clay. He has given me evidence. I get journalists, and we start a campaign to expose that corruption. I was nearly killed. It took courage. I didn't have a bodyguard or anybody. I was a small fellow, not even as, mature. My kids, I had one kid, that kid was very young. I had just gotten married. They could have killed me at that point. But we had a cause to fight for. Being Secretary General of KUJ, we were only equivalent to LSK then. It used to be very powerful. And we were the voice of reason. We were the ones the country looked up to challenge the establishment and the government of the day and the status quo. So Sir Edward Clay comes and supports me, and we start this campaign to expose this corruption. Nobody could believe that there could be corruption in Kibaki's government. It was unheard of. When we started, I can tell you the resistance was big.
Of course.
But there was evidence. And I stood firm. And this British High Commissioner was very committed to, playing above board, although I think he was pushing for the British interest because they had been denied a contract, which went to another country for whatever reason. So there were also global wars, my friend. And I'm right in the fray. Yes. But I took on that thing with gusto, and I stood for what I believed was right. As a result, some very senior journalists were arrested. One time, the top senior managers of the Standard Group, Chacha Mwita, Kwamchezi Makua, Tom Mushindi. The first time a CEO of a media house was arrested, and I went ballistic. Their families were calling me, and I demanded we have to be shown because we were being told they were taken to the airport. Mara, you go to the airport. They were taken to another police station, and they were incommunicado for almost 3 days. And I demanded. I went live on TV and demanded that they be produced. The government cannot hold them. And then, for the first time, he is a small fellow calling Kibaki's government corrupt to the core. And I read a statement that nobody thought would be read. And suddenly, what was supposed to kill me made me a hero internationally. That's why I ended up in the White House.
So you met Bush?
Yes, with his family. And I was hosted for dinner. I was a big man. I attended state days like, I remember Oslo in Norway, attending the state and what do you call it? Like the Independence Day as a chief, as a guest of honor of the country, Norway. Do you know that's where Haaland comes from?
I see what you did there,
my friend.
I see what you did there.
Then, that thing gave me fame. One time, how I got to now that thing of Norway. One time, a guy called John Willie Rudolph. He was promoting intellectual property and introducing copyright issues in Kenya, respect for the law in copyright, protecting creatives, including literary works and so on. And there was a body called Copyken. And he was from Norway, a body called Copinor, and they wanted to support Kenya. These are donors who fight for copyright. So he's staying at the Intercon then. And then he sees me on TV saying very intelligent things, or so he says. I don't know what I was saying. And then he asked a waiter, he took a screenshot, and he asked the fellow who was cleaning, who is this man? The girl says, and I want you to see how God can connect destiny. This girl says, oh, he's called Mutua. He's a very popular man. I just happened to be on TV.
At the right
this
time.
Muzungu is relaxing in the hotel. looking for a person saying those kind of things. Then this girl says, I think my MD must know that guy. He's always on TV. Eventually, I link up with John Willie Rudolph. And I end up becoming the chairman of Copican, getting money from donors to start a new body and establish, Copican, which was fighting my board and 6 professors. The top literature guys, the late Chris Wanjala, Henry Ndagasi, Professor Wasamba, all those guys. Wasamba was my vice chair. Out of kupigwa vita na kuonewa, but the bravery to say the right thing. Yeah. Not knowing that it would impress anybody, but doing what I believe in my heart. So you can see there are benefits. There are benefits. You know, people think you are just troll. I live a very good life. I really enjoy
People think your life is miserable.
Maisha yangu bwana. Mi huishi maisha mzuri bwana.
Unasema ni kama hata ukunywangi breakfast, hujakula lunch.
Do I look miserable?
Let me clip this.
Do I look miserable?
No, personally, I know you're not. Mimi unaninunulianga lunch. Unaniambia bila kuambi kuja nikununulie lunch. So, and then me I see the way you dress. And I'm always wondering, like I told you, there's a Luo person hiding inside you.
I admired Kalonzo when I was young.
Hey.
That guy.
That's where you got your inspiration
That guy used to dress to kill. We'd see him on TV to go Kambo.
Yeah.
Tunaenda kwa, you know, there was a center place with a big screen.
Yeah.
And then Kizungu. Steve has come a long way. So I followed him and then I was like, that guy can dress. Steve-O.
Yeah.
Man.
Now me, I look at you like that.
Hey.
Like you always like suit.
Bas.
Trust me, I went, I bought a pinstripe suit like this one.
Eish.
But Nikiva,
this is from Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka.
Hey.
Kalonzo, even I used to pray, Mungu nisaidie siku moja, nikuje kujuana na yeye. One time, in 1992, I was running a campaign. Moya akaniita tena akaniambia niende nikasaidia my area MP ni Mwala. Jamaa alikuwa nati, alikuwa anaitwa Peter Mutua Katuku. Peter Mutua Kavisi. So nikaenda, I was running the campaign. That time Kalonzo was the deputy speaker of the National Assembly. That guy, bwana, you've come as a vendor brand, that guy. And then you remember, he has been my idol. I really wanted to meet him. Kalonzo shows up late, but akasema, niliambiwa kuna vijana wa university, maybe I can just listen to the chairman, and then I leave. Nikaamuka bwana. Oratory skills bwana. There's a village, wakati uko na shida unatuanga mesamiati. The other guy picks me, tells me, that's a good speech. Well spoken. We became friends ever since.
Just like that.
And then because of his deportment, you know, his kizungu sinjafikia yake, but I can tell you, he gave me the inspiration to go to school.
Okay.
They gave me the inspiration. I will die dressing well.
You dress well. I meet even off duty. Hey. Kuna venye umevaa.
Unaona tu si mbaya.
Kidogo alafu kuna karufu kengine kana kupika hivi karufu expensive. Do you know, by the way, now this one, I wanted to say it as a joke somewhere else, but now since you're here, you'll be the receiver of this joke. Watu wadozi mnakuwa na kama dharau fulani. Ninaenda ninapiga marashi yangu expensive, nimeka alafu ukitokelezea marashi yako inameza marashi yangu. Ni kama marashi yangu is non-existent.
It's like I go.
Anytime I meet you, I never smell my cologne, and I'm like, that cologne was expensive.
Yeah, you know why? We buy it in first class lounges of up there while crossing North Pole to South Pole.
Sleeping in Roosevelt.
Yeah, yes, you know. That's why.
I always feel it anytime I'm around you. I don't smell my. But when I'm around other people, Obinna unanukia fiti, unanukia fiti.
When I have a layover of 6 hours in Qatar or in France, 6 hours.
Yes.
You shop for serious stuff. Yes.
One day.
Ipo siku.
Let's talk about film before we move on to other things.
Yes.
Finally, about film, because you are big on that space as well. What is wrong with the current film? Every film I watch, from movies to comedy to animation, gay couples, lesbian couples, sexual innuendos, vulgar conversations.
Yes.
What's happening?
It's an agenda. In fact, that was my speech at the Hollywood Film Festival. how Hollywood has misrepresented Africa, but they have also pushed their own agenda through film to make us look subservient, primitive, and like we don't know what to do. So what is their worst is what they introduced to us. The Western people have failed in family. You find somebody who is divorced 5 times and now they're now living with a cat and they think it's cool. Okay? They think it's cool. They divorce like for fun.
That's true.
They have introduced that to us through films.
True.
That was not our culture. But now they are meant divorce look cool.
True,
okay? The vulgarity, bad language, you are F. In fact, the black guys in the US, I always wonder, what's wrong with you? You are more vulgar than the white Americans. They have introduced that in their films to look cool, to use F words, S words, and so on, curse words. And they want to introduce that to our children to destroy our culture. And I can tell you, most of this behavior, including crime, violence, vulgarity, all this murder that you are seeing, do you know those guys sell guns online? A kid can order for a gun and analetewa.
True.
And there is no age control. In fact, Obama was pushing for a law at least to have some mental sanity, some control, that you can't just order. We need to know that you are sane. Otherwise, a kid gets a gun, buys it, goes to school, shoots the classmates. True. These are real things. And now they introduce that as if it's cool. We are more civilized than the West. And it's a battle of wits. You know, when I was growing up, we used to fight against witchcraft. Now the battle is not about witchcraft, Oga Obinna. It's about witchcraft. These guys are introducing the ideologies that have destroyed the world. Concept and ideologies like terrorism. They are out of that kind of behavior where you normalize injustice against people and the only choice they have is to go against humanity, and if I must be a suicide bomber and kill everybody in the name of pursuit for justice, so be it. And you introduce it in films. So you normalize violence as a way of getting your way, getting justice. You normalize vulgarity and so on. You normalize divorce. You normalize all these things. They are coming through films. That's what I was standing against. And I was telling people, we will have a problem. And let me tell you, I'm very good for this country. It's only that here we don't appreciate decency. We reward crooks. Otherwise, in a normal country, because I think with this is not normal, I would be a very serious minister.
That's true.
Yeah, but you know I can't be a minister? Because they have to look for, you are a son of who? You are affiliated to, not your values.
Yeah.
It is who you can go to bed with in terms of ideas or ideologies, whom you can bribe. And it saddens my heart. Because when I was growing up, my brother, my dad is not known. I have given my dad validation. He says he's the father to Mutua. If I say I'm the father to Nyivia, nobody will recognize that guy. Yeah? In fact, at some point, I could not use the name because I was even ukiandika ni ngumu. So cheki zangu zinakuwa cancelled, and I was like, I didn't fight poverty. I didn't down to this level to start struggling with my checks because wengine wanaandika Nyitima. My dad is called Joseph Nyivia.
Okay.
If you ask in this big word, and except for my village, utamjua, lakini uliza baba ya Mutua anajulikana.
No.
But I came from that place to the national limelight because people valued hard work, decency, resilience, positive social values. Now we are telling kids it's the crook next door who will prosper, that working hard doesn't pay. And remember, part of why kids are killing themselves is when you lose hope. You kill their hope to become a better person by working hard. There is no predictability of the patterns. As we knew for sure, if you work hard in school, if you are a good, well-behaved person, you will make it in life.
Future's guaranteed.
It doesn't matter who your father is. Now we have reached a point where it is the
graduates, a job,
where it is a socialite on,
Someone do a dance on TikTok and tomorrow they are
famous.
Money, and you're just like, okay.
Then, so others, it's how much you can insult. It's how much vulgarity you can spew.
I had that issue with people. Even some people have hosted on this show, and I'm always telling them, why are we changing the narrative? Back in my day, when I was starting being as a comedian, we had to work through levels.
Exactly.
Like I've done like 7 different TV shows, 5 different radio shows.
Yes.
I've been on newspaper.
Obinna, it's called the process.
Years. It's been 11 years.
Yes.
But someone,
to become Oga Obinna.
To become Oga Obinna.
Yeah.
Someone will dance today on TikTok.
And they are famous.
Tomorrow they are famous. Then the following day they're giving people opinions of everything.
Can you imagine?
Another person who's not informed about my background in hard work that I put in and research and expertise, they'll come down and look at what I say and look at what the other person says. And because the other person is insulting people online, they're more popular and more famous. And now people are like,
if you remove your clothes and do a TikTok naked,
there you go.
You become the greatest influencer.
Yes.
How absurd that good values don't matter anymore.
No, nowadays.
That Obinna being contented with it you have been doing and working through. And it's called the process, I told you. The moment we stop respecting the process, then we have no country. That's why I was saying, I work hard because I know I'm good for God and for the kingdom of God and for this country that I love so much. In this sense, that the moment I push for the narrative of good values and tell my story, and I really tell my story because it matters.
Yeah.
My story matters. What it tells another kid there, that you don't have to be known. You don't have to be anybody. In fact, even why I say right now, some of the things that others get on a silver platter, it takes me 10 times to work 10 times more to achieve them.
To achieve it.
Okay? I've just told you, I believe I should be a very serious minister.
And I know.
have the requisite experience, the exposure, the education, the demeanor, and everything. But they will look for how valuable is he in Machakos for our party? Does he get along with the party, the kingpin? That's what they will look for.
Does he sell
so they don't want a guy who will come and change society by his own lifestyle. It's not something I'm making up. That's who I was when I became the head boy of Ikumeni Primary School in 1982. When I was the school prefect and captain in Mwala Secondary School in 1986. When I was school captain of Tala High School in 1989. It's not something I'm making up. That's my lifestyle. Now that doesn't matter. And you're telling my kids, don't behave like your father because it will not get you anywhere. You can't be a president that way. We must change that narrative and tell our kids it doesn't matter. It may be long, but trust the process. There's a God in heaven who will open a door, and somehow it will happen. What God purpose that will happen will happen. But I have a problem with the culture of instant gratification. Because we are teaching our kids not to follow the process. We are teaching our kids to lie their way through. We are teaching our kids through some of these adverts that you can become instant billionaire. You can put 50 shillings on betting whatever, and you get 200 million, and you are celebrating, and somebody appears on TV saying hallelujah. And we are pushing in our minds that, look, you can become rich by chance. No, I would rather say it doesn't always work. Out of the 2 people who have become millionaires, 1,000 people have lost. And some of them have committed suicide because of betting. We don't want to have these conversations. So we glorify and we allow these kind of things. So our kids wonder, if Oga Obinna worked so hard, we saw him, we have seen him toiling, he's a well-behaved guy, but he's not making it in life, then why follow him? So they want to follow the crook who is cutting corners and becoming rich, driving the best cars. And some of the guys who are posting even these fake things on social media and making our kids commit suicide because they're wondering what's wrong with them. What's wrong with their father? He also wakes up very early and goes to work. But they are poor. Then the kid next door. So you can see how we have now films and content has been used to influence our perception wrongly, so that we no longer admire what is good. We are more inclined to socialite, to get quick rich schemes, and to things that do not follow the process, because it is not easy to follow the process. But I tell you, there is no shortcut. There is no substitute for hard work, for good behavior, for discipline in this life. It's better to not to have much. It's better never to rise to become anything, but to live a good life. Mother Teresa was just a teacher, a primary school teacher in Calcutta, in India. She was not a huge person, a big personality. She used to walk, because she came from a very poor village, through dead bodies. That is one of the most poorest villages in India. And during her time, things were bad. And she would step on dead bodies. And one time she went to the school principal and said, I want to resign. And she was asked to go where? To go and take care of the situation. I can't be walking across dead bodies every morning. And she asked for a paycheck. And with that little money, she started a foundation. She started working on saving one life at a time. And Mother Teresa is quoted today. There are many great people. Martin Luther King died at 39, but we quote him today. You don't have to live for 90 years or 100 years to have an impact. Just do the right thing at your time. Leave the rest to God. So what I want to tell people is that there's no shortcut. There's no shortcut. And this instant gratification, this culture, you want to become rich, quick, you know.
Easy come, easy go.
Easy come, easy go.
Easy come, easy go.
So I think that's a very important message. What I've learned in life is to go through the process.
Go through the process.
Painful. Oga Obinna, it's painful. Sometimes you feel, why God? Why is it that good people suffer?
True.
Why is it that good
suffer a
people
lot, actually.
have to go through such pain? Why is it that, you know, they are the ones who seem to have the most difficult life? And people who are not as disciplined have it easy. But at the end of the day, that satisfaction that you can go to sleep without having to watch your back, that I can leave my house open and I don't worry and have no enmity. Nobody's looking for me because I never stole from anybody. I didn't, you know, rush anybody on a deal. That, I think, for me, ultimately is what will count. And I think you live a better life because when you look at the way we are getting, you watch news and, you know, the first item to the fifth, the major news is about murder, corruption, rape, all these things. I think it should prick our conscience to say, what does it matter? Come back to our senses and say it pays to be a disciplined person and to uphold values.
There you have it.
Yeah.
Your take on gay people?
It is not the way of God, first of all.
Okay.
I believe that we should hate the sin, but love the sinner. I have nothing against gay people. I have friends who are gay, okay, including those ones who welcomed me to Hollywood. We talk. One time I was invited to Google. I was invited at a meeting by conference by Google in San Francisco.
Hey, Mutua.
You can't imagine. And they're like, yo, not only that. You know, that meeting was very nice for me because we went to San Francisco.
Okay.
And during the meeting, you know, guys were giving testimonies. These gay young people from, you know, some colleges in the US and how they're being tortured and so on. Okay. So in the evening, we break into groups. And you team up with somebody, you pick Oga Obinna, you have a cup of coffee, and then there's a balloon that you normally, the game would end with a balloon where we hug and burst that balloon. And it means we are breaking the hatred and the embracing love. I picked a boy from one of the universities who went given a very traumatizing. He's gay and he was so proud of it. Now the cameras came on me. You know the way you are saying it.
No, go to see later. Hey, zoom the camera.
You don't believe it.
Kenya.
No, I have nothing against gay people. And then we still communicate with that gentleman. I have so many, even young people that I mentor here.
So when I muka.
Yeah. And you know, it was the ultimate. You do it consciously. You're not forced into it. In fact, they never thought I would do it. They were even willing to leave me alone, not to participate. But I get this boy, oh, I had your testimony. Oh, I'm so sorry about what you're going through. So, you know, we should focus on promoting love. And this conversation is not about you. You are an amazing individual. You have that issue. I am straight. But between us, we are human beings. So let's do this. The cameras were on me. I was the story. Yes. Yeah, it means break the barrier, break the hatred, break the homophobia, and love people.
Okay.
So my problem with the gay agenda is that it is against the family.
Okay.
Procreation is God's agenda. The pride of every parent is to have children or give birth to children who get children, and that's how we perpetuate the family tree. You don't do it by a man marrying another man. In any case, Oga Obinna, we are here because we were born through a union between a man and a woman, not a man and another man. The way to destroy the world, and that's what I was telling you, this Western agenda must be challenged openly. Gay agenda is wrong for Africa. It's wrong for Kenya. It's bad. And it must be condemned. Not condemning the gay people. That's a different conversation. Okay. How we handle them, how we rehabilitate them, how we protect them. And there's a difference between the human dignity of a gay person and their practices. What they do in private is none of our business. But when they promote that agenda and they push it on our faces, somebody should call them out because it's wrong. Okay? We are here because we were born. In the first place, the reason we have this conversation is because we were born. We are not manufactured through computers. We are not a software production. We were born by a woman through a process of procreation. There is no way a country can develop without that process. The biggest economies in the world, they're predicated, they're premised on human asset, human populations. And the future is going to be determined the same way. China is becoming big because of its population. So is India, Japan, and so on. So we cannot allow, in the name of money and looking cool and looking looking like we are progressive and civilized, allow this to destroy the family. To the extent that we are telling our children that marrying doesn't matter. You can relate with another boy, a girl can relate with another girl, and you don't have to get married. It's going to destroy our country and we have no future. Somebody must say it. Where is the camera? There is no future if our children, our boys marry other boys and girls marry other girls. We are here because we were born. And we were born out of a union between a man and a woman. So if you want to raise a conversation, please cut me some slack. I am a product of a man and a woman, not a man and another man. And there is no way, we will never reach a civilization, Oga Obinna, where computers will produce human beings. Maybe clones. I've seen artificial intelligence. There's a lady from Saudi Arabia, I think she's called Sophia. And you can relate with her. She can come, read your mood. She's an AI, an artificial intelligence thing. My friend, you can never produce a human being.
What happens when your son comes out and tells you he's gay?
That's a different conversation because, like I've told you, if, for example, that was to happen, I would love my son and stand with my son and help him through and tell him what I'm saying on this camera, that is not God's will and it's not my will. Okay? And it's not the right thing. So if he cares to listen to his father or to his parents and he cares to know what is good, then he will listen. But it's a different conversation how we can bring them back, how we can win them with love, how we can show them unqualified love as parents, for example, because I don't think we help the situation as parents when we demonize them because of our religious standing or our standing in society. Your child is your child, whether they are gay or straight, and God has a way of saving them. I don't believe it's God's will for my child to become gay. And I would pray them out, do whatever it takes to win them back to the straight path. And leave that to God because I didn't choose it. They are not picking it from me. So there's also a sense in which if somebody is above 18, they are responsible for their own lives. But I'll tell them what I believe is right, then leave them to decide. I will not force it on them. So that would be the conversation that we need to delineate the concept of human dignity from the practices of a gay person. The practice is what we have a problem with. The behavior is what we have a problem with. The human being should be loved and supported. And those who want to change then should be embraced and helped through. And there are programs to do so.
Sawa. Now, done with film, done with all this classification manenos. Now, let's get to know the person, because there are people who don't know much about you. You've dropped a couple of titles. I was a head boy in nursery school. Now, there are some people who don't know that you used to work closely with Matiang'i. Which I want to ask, how was that?
Do you know this president who has died for Namibia, Jacob? One of my most amazing interactions with the president was with him and Matiang'i. One time I was speaking at Misiane High School, you know, motivational speaker, and my driver brings me the phone, and I'm speaking, and I'm like, what's wrong? And he says, Unaitwa. So I pick the phone, and it's CS Matiang'i. And he tells me, we are supposed to leave tonight For South Africa, we are meeting President Gagob in the morning, and then we come back to see Zuma in the afternoon. We were on a charm offensive. We were that time shuttle diplomacy. Okay. Our president and the deputy president were indicted in the ICC, and we were mobilizing the African presidents to leave the ICC. And I was privileged to be among the people, working closely with Matiang'i and him, trusting me as his information secretary when he was the cabinet secretary for ICT. Okay. So we are on the plane that evening. And one of the most fascinating, we have met president. We have been to Moscow to see Putin. We've gone to 18 presidents.
With Matiang'i?
Yes. The guy was a buddy and one of the most amazing ministers I've ever worked with. If it were not for Matiang'i, Kenya wouldn't have moved from analog to digital.
Yeah, because I also know you played a very integral part in the analog digital movement.
Yes, because he found me.
Through Matiang'i.
I pushed that campaign with Professor Bitange Demo since 2007, when I became Director of Information for the government of Kenya.
Okay. And
the agenda for the shift from analog to digital started that time in 2007. Professor Bitange Demo, then Dr. Bitange Demo, was the PS for ICT. We tried, the media was against it, a lot of business people were against it, and a lot of people didn't see the benefit, the digital dividends that it would bring. Until 2013, when there's a new election and Matiang'i is appointed the minister. And he reports to the office and I receive him and we pray and we shared common faith. And, I knew him when he worked for SUNY Kenya as a very eloquent and very forceful person. So we brief him, and he found the battle, right at the climax. And he picks it with gusto, runs with it. At some point, we were almost sacked at State House on a Sunday morning. I got a call from Manoe Spiso. I was going to church. Manoe was the government spokesman. And he asked me, "Where's your boss?" And I'm like, "It's Sunday, chief." Which boss? And he tells me, "Matiang'i." Hey, I don't know. So call him, munahitajika hapa saa hii. So I called CS. Fortunately, he was in Nairobi. So I tell him, "Msikia hii mkutano ya State House." And he tells me, "I had a rumor that the media owners have something against us. I hope it's not the one." I tell him, "Chief, tumeambiwa twende saa 4. Kumbe that time media owners waliamuka wakaenda Serena. Wametupangia. So we go to State House and they tell the president, it's either this minister or us. You choose to keep this one, you have no support of the media. So sack him. And the speaker after speaker, they were baying for his blood. UHURU. Yes. And that in UHURU, all the big boys are there. The head of NSIS, the police commissioner, the head of public service, everybody, the guys who were around the president. And they give him no option. They tell him we can't work with him and say all manner of things. But bottom line, they are protecting their business. They are saying he's pushing us to migrate. We are not ready. We are going to lose business. And there's not going to be digital migration.
Choose him or us. Some companies that took a while to shift.
Yes.
They were just
Chief. But Matiang'i was so eloquent and convincing. And very humble, and a man of the moment. The guy rises and speaks and convinces the president. So the president has two sides of the story. He says, I'm leaving for Rwanda, let's meet here after 2 weeks. And I remember I straight went to the airport with Matiang'i. I was not traveling to Rwanda, but CS was going. And we come up with, and he tells me, "Ezekiel, take the flak." And you know the way I used to tell him, if you want to say stupid things, let me say them. Because you can even claim that you didn't even know those things. I said them out of turn, and you are going to take action against me. So I tell him, this one, give it to me. So while at the airport, I tweet to Uhuru, Wachira and other media owners, and I told them, we are going to shift the digital migration by 6 months. I have that from the Waziri.
Ukatweet?
Nikatweet. No, a message. It was a message, sorry. Sasa ubaya, bwana. These guys ran with the story in the evening. And they are quoting my message. That the government, through the information secretary, one is
in 6 months.
Yeah, but I called me and told me, who told you to announce? I said, there's a message there. I didn't announce mkubwa. But you know, we had such nice working relationship. The meetings we have done in Ethiopia to get this ICC thing out, the shuttle diplomacy we have done. Matiang'i was a wonderful man. Then we decided we were going to migrate. So I told Waziri, you know, the only way to follow through this matter is to go to court. So we go to court, sometimes we lose, we go to the Court of Appeal, we lose, we go to the Supreme Court, we win. And the Supreme Court decides that there will be digital migration. That's the final court. There is no other cause of appeal. So we migrate, we decide. Tunawapatia masaa machache muame. Do you know what the media houses did? They switched off. There was no TV for 3 weeks. Nikamwambia kaa ngangari. Tuliandikwa majina, tuliitwa mashetani. But Matiang'i was, Matiang'i is cut from a different cloth.
So it was beautiful working with.
By the way, I'm serious. Yeah. If this country ever needed a leader, that's a man. I can tell you.
Some people wanasema Matiang'i kidogo.
I worked with Matiang'i. Matiang'i is a slave driver. Matiang'i can push you. Matiang'i doesn't suffer fools, but I have worked with many ministers. That guy is he's the guy one. Kenya needs.
Man, everybody has those people you work with. You're just like, okay.
Oh, no. You can have a minister. Yeah. And I mean, I say this with tremendous respect, but you know, there's a sense of depth that you carry and the way you communicate it that wins favor even with your enemies. Matiang'i and such grace. Matiang'i was articulate. Matiang'i could read. Matiang'i was hardworking. We would meet at 5. He would call me at midnight and tell me to kutani ofisi 5 in the morning. Because at 7 we're in State House and we were doing a presentation. He would call me and tell me, you know, by 7 to Kutani Airport, we are heading to this country or the other. One time we went to Zambia to see President Lungu. And I think he liked Matiang'i, so he decided, the meeting was taking place in the evening. He decided, you guys, you spend, you'll go tomorrow. Then at night, President UHURU calls and says, I want you guys at 7. So we make arrangements and get a flight and we come. We land at the airport and there's traffic. Yeah. Then I told the CS, you know, you are the minister. That time he was new, so you're not learned the ropes to... Do you know we used to the other side?
We used to go wrong side.
Kabisa. Tuwakishe mataa.
Now we know.
But your president anakungojea tulipita. Magari ilisimama zilikuwa zinapigania nini. And then I would call the OCPD ambia magari toka tunajua. So you know the CS was surprised. That meeting with the late Gegob, may God rest his soul in eternal peace, because he blessed me. Yeah. And blessed CS Matiang'i. That mzee, you know, he was not a young man, but he loved us. When we went, he just blessed us and wished us well. And we had a very nice meeting. And you could see the fatherly whatever. He died yesterday. And, you know, we are still mourning him. Yeah. But I just wanted to give you that example. I have one time gone to President Museveni, removed my jacket and worked there for 6 hours with Museveni.
Worked?
One time, yes, working. His tanks had been blocked at Busia, somehow by Kenya Pipeline. I don't know what was going on. So, and we were coming to the 2017 general election. And you remember in 2008, because of post-election violence, those countries were affected, the ones that use Kenya for transit of their goods. So he was very worried. We are going to elections and now we have started Itabia. So I was dispatched here with the Air Force One, if you wish. Yeah, ile unaendanga ni wewe.
Okay,
yes. Okay. So I get there and find Museveni quarreling very early. Hey, hii ni mbaya mzee, hii ni mbaya mzee. Then I said, nimeona watu wako wameingia, wacha nimalize mzee. Nione kama watanisaidia. Hii ni mbaya sana. So we get in there. We worked and sorted out and cleared the road, and the tanks got to Uganda and fueled and everything. And you know, unatoka hapo na kabuda kidogo. Museveni is very generous. Na unarudi Kenya tu. You appear here like nothing happened.
Let me stop you for a minute, Mheshimiwa. You've dropped so many names in this
I'm
interview.
not dropping names.
No, like in a good way.
Photos.
You're dropping in a good way.
Thank you.
Like you've rubbed shoulders with who and who and who.
It is God's grace.
So there is someone who's watching this interview and wondering kwani huyu ni nani na kona college gani. So nataka tuanze nyuma kidogo. You came from a not known family.
It is not on Google Maps.
Ushago ni wapi?
Kunaitwa Kaloleni Mwala. That place used to be called Ngulini because it was full of monkeys. Ngulini. It means a place of apes. So at some point when Mwala and Kangundo were in the same constituency, the former freedom... The past Tala. Now, uko chini mwisho wa dunia. So, former freedom fighter Paul Gay used to be our MP. And he used to campaign akifika hapo karibu na kwetu anasema hizo kura ataki. So the place was called Ngulini. The monkeys. Wakichague moja yao. That's where I come from.
Okay.
The place by the way is still called Ngulini. Even now, I'm the one who has changed it to Kaloleni. Just to make it cool, brother, because names have a meaning.
So, Mr.
Kuna watu kitambulisho yao imeandikwa Ngulini village.
Only change yako. So, this is where you are born. Brought up in the same place.
Same place. My father used to be and drunk. You know, ndio wale wazee ulewa. Na wako violent.
Yeye na Hikobe wako hapa.
Nilikizaliwa alikuwa ameresign police. Alikuwa polisi ya mzungu. So when I was being born, I was born in 1967. He retired 10 years earlier. So alikuwa anakaa tu hapa na Karubu.
Kuzaliwa kwa shida.
Then huyo mzee alikuwa anapenda Karubu mpaka hakuwa na trust ya wengine. Alikuwa na pika yake mwenyewe. So our place was like Beirut. Vita ya walevi.
Mulikuwa na refinery kwenyu.
Huyo mzee alikuwa anatengeneza kitu. Ilikuwa inavutia watu. You know there were no bars in the village. So the teachers and the guys, you know, agricultural extension officers who were posted in Mwala, they would come there. Walikuwa wanatafuta pombe ile mzuri, wanakuja huko. So one guy called Anton Munyao, alikuwa mwalimu wa hiyo Ikumeni Primary, where I ended up. Decides, why is this guy not in school? This chap looks intelligent, or so he said. And he bulldozes my father and says, this has to come to school tomorrow. That's how I started my school, very late. I went to school when I should have been finishing. Bana kufanya mtihani ninaingia. Naingia mzee. Akashangaa. Huyu ni mwalimu. Kumbe ni. So as a result, because I was bright and I was big and nilikuwa number 1 throughout.
By the way, you are born bright.
Yes, I was. No, but you know when you go late, unafanyishwa vitu ya watoto na wewe ni mtu mzima, si unapita tu.
Okay.
So, when I started getting affirmation, hey, unaona yule jamaa amekuja. Wewe jamaa ni mbaya. Jamaa ni mbaya. Nikiwa standard 4, nilikuwa nafanya essay na standard 7. Ninawashinda bwana. Zile isha za
sasa wewe ni baba yao.
Zile isha za the thing I never forget in life. Ile siku utawahi maishani. Unaandika vitu alikuwa na imaginary things. I was big. In any case ilikuwa na stories mob za walevi.
Si ndio sasa unaona sasa.
Za kushunga ng'ombe.
So this is how you became a head boy.
Yes, because I was big anyway. They had no choice. Nilikuwa karibu na mwalimu kwa umri. Well, I had it.
Assistant.
I was number 1, you know. So
okay.
Even now my record has not been broken since 1983.
Aya. So kama this primary school was called?
That's Ikumeni Primary.
Ikumeni.
Nikafanya vizuri sana by the way. I was to go to Machakos High School.
Ulipata?
Hey, 33 out of 36 my friend.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay.
That was a level. Nilikuwa mbaya sana. Lakini sasa hakuna hata mtu alijali. Sikupelekwa ile Machakos.
Sasa baba ako refinery.
Around March nimerudi ile ulevi ile kuchunga ng'ombe. Mimi sikuwa na kunywa.
Au kupiga kidogo?
Sijawahi.
Kitest tu.
Ilikuwa kabla hivi, ilikuwa very tamu. Sukari, hiyo tulikuwa tunakunywa lakini ukipatikana tulikuwa tunakunywa na unaongeza maji na
molasses.
Yes,
Molasses hapo kidogo.
Lamba molasses. Ya mzee. Lakini ukipatikana.
Kisha wewe.
But now that
so
life,
you didn't go to Machakos High.
Yes. So when around March, some pastor tells my mother, this kid could be the one who will.
Nimekwambia Mungu amekuwa na kufaitia. See, some stranger tells your father, huyu akuje shule. Sahi pastor, huyu aende?
Yes. Unajua vile my mom did, aliiba maharagwe ya family, akauza, akapata some money. Took me to a school called Popular High School in Kangundo. Okay. It's a marketplace. Hiyo shule ilikuwa shule mbaya sana.
It was popular.
So it was just a market. It was run by a Muhindi called Patel.
Okay.
Na ilikuwa biashara tu, biashara easy, you know, illicit almost. Lakini ilikuwa inafanya mtihani nyingine ya KJSE branch course. Yani kama unjaenda form 4, ijulikane tu uliingia secondary.
Okay.
So ilikuwa ya wale watu walianguka, wale watu, you know, hawana future. So I ended up there. Alipona my nini, akambia my mom aende in case she changes her mind. Akambia the boy is okay in our hands. So I was left there, nikaanza masomo hapo.
It's boarding.
No. Ulikuwa naenda huko kwa market. It's a place where there was no future. A God-forsaken place, bwana. Umekuwa na mali, haina Mungu. It was just a market.
Mungu ameitoroka.
Do you know, there was a guy called Maingi, alikuwa bazaar. Alikuwa anavuta bangi, you would know. And that guy used to beat both the teachers and the students. Kwa jamaa munene, tena ulikuwa unajua kimeumana, mlikuwa mnanyamaza mkisikia munuso ya bangi.
Harufu
harufu ya bangi, mnajua Maingi. Walimu wananyamaza, watoto wananyamaza. Anakuja, anauliza mwalimu, nini hizo unafunza? Pa.
Kwa class.
Yes. Maingi was a man. Anyway, that's where I started. But by the time I did form 2, because I was number 1 throughout, and then nimeiva, then nikaokoka 23rd of June 1984. Nikiwa form 1. Hiyo kitu ikanipatia another exposure. Wandugu wakanichukua, ninapelekwa mikutano mikubwa, nalipiwa because I could speak well. I could go and give a testimony. So then I became a chairman, secretary general of a big place called Kangundo, CU regional something. Nikaanza kupata cheo, wandugu wananilipia, kuna weekend challenge, sijui wapi nalipiwa, then exposure, then big preachers like Bishop Kitonga then, who are, you know, they are not people you could reach. Started now identifying, because I'm bright, I'm passing exams. I am also, when I get a chance, najiuza kwetu kukaanza kuingia ngari, although it was not any place to write home about. But to cut the long story short, by the time I was in form 2, sorry for that. By the time I was in form 2, sasa hii mbona inakata? Imekata hii pole. So to read, by the time I was in form 2, I was like, no, there's no competition here, and I need something better for my life. I took my results. By that time, kumenyesha Ukambani, there's bump harvest. My mother has harvested something. Forget about my dad. My dad, by the way, left. When that maharagwe ilibwa. I don't know, there were no phones. Later on, I'm told my mom got a beating and mzee left.
Oh, yeah.
Hizi ni story unajua baadaye, yeah. You know, hakuna simu, hakuna mtu anakuja kukuangalia.
Yeah.
It's a mothers who used to go, but this time round I go home and I realized my dad left, sold everything and left. And then we are starting from the scratch. But God is merciful, kukanyesha. That time in 1984, there was a famine, inajulikana hata kwa historia ya Kenya. So it was a very bad famine, but kukanyesha 85. So 86.
Yellow maize?
Yes.
Okay.
So 86, I moved to Mwala Secondary School with no money, no parent, no brother, no guardian, with my results from Popular High School. Principal aliziona, akaambia secretary, without even checking whether I have money, and meet this boy. The late Peter Kituko, I've visited his home in Makueni before he passed on. Without money or anything. My mother was coming later after selling maize and so on to pay. Then I ended up becoming a prefect. I ended up becoming a school captain. Now, nimemachua, kumenyesha Ukambani, kuna mahindi, we are okay now. Yeah. Na nikapita, nikaingia Tala High School. Tala High School was a big school now. Then from there now, wazazi wanakuja bwana matajiri kina Oga Obinna, wanakuja kuona watoto wao. Ninatoa ma-speech. Ma-speech kwa assembly. Wanauliza kijana, unatoka wapi? Who is your father? They get interested with my story. People I don't know. As a result, I make friends. Mimi ndio najua umaskini. So I am going to run away from this poverty. So I impress a parent who loves me more than their child who is in the same school. So mimi nikaomoka. Kutoka hapo sinyangalia nyuma. From there I passed to go to Kenyatta University where I met my wife. Now unaona hizo shule ndio zilifungwa. My brother, education is an equalizer. My wife went to Kenya High School from 1 to Form 6. Kenya High School is where some of the top judges in this country, serious people. When I met her in KU, those stories of mine didn't matter. Because nilikuwa CU leader. Niko hapa na wahubiria. Natoa misamiati. Na wahubiria.
Anashanga, who's this?
When King Uzziah died, I saw the Lord. And I'm preaching one.
Unasema receive, watu wanaanguka.
Receive. One time we went to preach in Murang'a, and the crusade was attacked by bees. Just when I was about to preach, I picked the microphone and directed those bees to disappear. And then a single pilot disappeared. My friend, I was so popular, especially with the sisters.
Serious?
Yes.
Hati, I command the bee
in the name of Jesus, you will not interfere with my crusade. I'm
Go
a
and look
child
for
of
honey.
God. Go ye. And never come back. Anointing.
And somehow,
Anointing. How does a girl from Kenya High School start asking where I went?
Ukamshtua. She fell in love immediately.
26 years later, she's still in my house.
Jesus works in
nimeombea mheshimiwa hapa. Mheshimiwa ameinama hivi akaniambia nimuombee na nimembless na mngojee huyo hata rudi nyuma. He will go up.
So just like that you met in university.
Yes.
You are in the same year.
Same year, she was heading the Bible study. I was heading the missions committee, preaching and so on. We were buddies, went everywhere preaching, became friends, finished off our first degree. Then we were called to do masters. But then between April when we finished and October when we were to join, we were to graduate now and join, go for our masters. Me, I get a job at the Nation Media Group. I just walked in.
No.
I just walked in. They looked at my papers. No degree, no nothing. Just testimonials and the kizungu bwana. And the way I wrote the one gave him one was like, have you ever thought of becoming a journalist? I say I can become anything.
Of course.
I'm taken for the million. Nation Media Group, permanent and pensionable, my friend. That was a blue chip company. Other than East African Industries, Kenya Breweries, Coca-Cola, Nation was ranking up there.
Top.
Yeah. Okay, and 46,000 bwana. Them days.
46,000 which year?
1994.
Uliomoka kitambo.
Tulikuwa masongo.
Uliomoka kitambo.
Sasa unaona tukaanza hapo 9 years at the Nation. I tried to go back and take care of my siblings. In fact, my siblings who are behind me, I brought them to Nairobi, put them in different places. The rest is history, but most of them are doing very well. Tukwato ile maisha ngumu ya mashambani.
Yeah.
Then my wife went back for her masters. Eventually, we now made a decision to marry. We married in 1997, April. That time, I am a big shot. I'm rising. I'm intermingling with who is who. And then, but the story is, between my first degree and my master's, there's 15 years. I had to go back and take care of my siblings and my parents. I took over my parents. You know, this kitu on black tax.
Of course.
Where you prosper and you have a choice to make, either to go back and support your family or you
forget about them.
Yes, and you go it alone. I chose to go back and support my mom, particularly for the price she paid for me. I took over my parents, looked for my dad, brought him back home, rehabilitated them, started building a house. Nikipata pesa na badilisha, took care of my siblings the best way I knew how, established a family, and later on I became Secretary General of KUJ, Director of Information. When I became Director of Information, my friend, I have a car, I have a driver and everything, and good money. I had no reason. I went to the University of Nairobi for my master's, and later on to Moi University for my PhD.
Way.
So nimeiva. I've done every paper, every course there is in journalism. I'm a professor of journalism, not just locally. Nimeiva.
Tumeona.
Do you know I have 3 honorary doctorates, which I don't even quote? I was telling you the other day, this is you or my colleagues, I can do a separate CV, which would sell as much like the one I have ever done. I don't need a CV now. I don't think there's any job that I require to do my CV. I'm the CV. But if I was,
that's a dead line. I don't need a CV.
No, I don't think. I don't need a CV. If you don't know me, you don't. You don't need
if you don't know me,
you don't need to.
Yeah.
So I am looked after by companies. Yeah, I discuss with the companies, and if I can add value, if they align with my values, I can agree. Like now I'm at Music Corporate Society of Kenya. I want to make a difference here.
We will talk about that
before MCSK now. See, I became Director of Information, did my master's.
Okay.
In 2010, I was honored by President Kibaki on merit. That's when I got my MPS. I was even in Dubai for some film festival. I didn't know I was being honored. When I started seeing people sending me messages, congratulations, MPS, I didn't even know what it meant. That time it was on merit. It's not this gathering man sort of jokes. It was serious to be honored during that time.
Utaki watu wakuwe honored saizi shwari.
Ati kwa kukula githeri while queuing to vote.
Umesimama na githeri tu.
We have made this thing a joke.
State recognition.
Yeah, no.
Mpaka suti za.
Yes. Hata saa hii inapeanangwa who knows who. Tukikutana na wewe, you know, it's a joke. Yeah. It's wrong. That time it was serious. It was serious, and so I became an MPS. Yeah. I later was promoted to become Secretary of Information. I rose through the ranks to Job Group U in the government, became CEO of the Kenya Film Classification Board, where the media nicknamed me the Moral Cop. I stood for God, for family, for my country. Did the best I could. Raised that organization, by the way. It wasn't just about talk. There was also infrastructural development. We were not just banning films. That organization was a department when I joined. We made it a fully fledged parastatal. We employed so many people, bought vehicles, established regional offices, got employees to have salaries and to have structures that were respectable. And a lot of them that came during my time are permanent and pensionable. And I give God the glory when I see them establishing families, when we meet and they can buy me tea, when they write to me and tell me if it were not for you. It gives me a lot of gratification. So I've been here, done that.
Well, you have the story. People see you. Huyu ajui huyu.
Wanaona kama nitoka village.
Amezaliwa kwa familia ya wadogo.
Pana tumeona maisha.
Because like right now, you are currently in MCSK.
Yes.
And when you got to MCSK, there was nothing much that would be written home about MCSK.
You are an artist.
I've been a member for a long while. Yeah. And until I came there to resubmit some of my songs, then I realized, Kumba only had the 4 songs that were registered here. I thought I didn't have the information of Go Tech, Yeah. We didn't have. So you've gotten in there. But now, 2 things people are wondering. 1, how did you get the MCSK job? Because kuna watu wanasema ulipatiwa.
At the advertised, by the way. It was in the national dailies.
Kuna watu wanasema ulipatiwa.
Okay.
Kujuana.
No, kuna watu walisema hivyo, hata kina Mbie na kina Eric walitoa videos.
So ukupatiwa?
No. It was advertised. By the way, I took a climb down to become a CEO of MCSK. I believe I'm worth much more.
For you?
Yes. It's the challenge that I liked. But otherwise, even if you ask my family, it was not the decision that was, and the blessings of many people. Even serious agencies that are related, and the friends that I know, they would call me and tell me, no, umenjiweka chini sana, this thing.
Ulitokaje KFCB kwanza?
Not KFCB ni 2 terms,
Okay.
And because of my outstanding performance, the board, because of COVID, we were just recovering from COVID, and they thought, even though, according to SCAC, you serve for 2 terms of 3 years each, but the board can make a decision, and with the blessings of the minister, you can get an extension. There are CEOs who have done even 15 years. Okay, there are CEOs I found as CEOs, and they're still CEOs even now, 3 years or 4 years after I left. So the board made a decision to extend my contract by 5 years. The minister who was there then, who supported this gay agenda, decided no. You know, we never used to see eye to eye. He and his own agenda, he supported the gay. The gay agenda, I used to be against it.
Who was the minister?
Your guess is as good as mine. You check.
Okay.
I don't want to mention his name. Okay. But we differed on ideology.
So you were fired?
Number 2, my chairman was Bishop Jackson Kosgei.
Okay.
Bishop Jackson Kosgei was a close friend of the deputy president, then now the president, William Ruto.
Okay.
By strange coincidence, I liked Ruto's hard working spirit. I liked his intelligence.
Okay.
And some of my ideas that I had for this country resonated more with him. So I gravitated towards Karen. And in any case, my chairman is a friend of the deputy president. So we would be more in Karen. And the deputy president would endorse, including supporting some of the creatives. You remember a group called FBI from Kamukunji?
Yeah, the dancers.
That were participating in Arizona, then being invited as finalists in Arizona for acrobatism.
Yeah,
and they needed 5 million. They came to my office and I couldn't raise that money. But I posted. When I posted, Dennis Etumbe saw it and he told me, Mukubwa anakutafuta. So I took those kids to Karen. They wowed the deputy president and they raised the money for them. So we work together in projects like those and so on. And his faith and the first lady now, we're opening the chapel and so on. This minister thought, they end a fight, which I didn't know about. And we became collateral damage. So even though I deserved that contract, I was hounded out. Not because I had done anything wrong, but then to look for reasons. When I got home, I was on every TV station. It was saying I'm under investigation and so on, those kind of things. But it was a way of getting me out, which was wrong because first, I was getting an extension out of performance. I was getting an extension from the board, who was the employer. If there was any problem, it should have been taken to the employer. But they did it because I am seen to be allied to Ruto. I'm not the only one, by the way. All the people who are seen to support the deputy president then would be arrested. Every CEO, PS, or CS. You are arrested on Friday, unalala ndani. So I was chased away on Thursday to be arrested on Friday. But the anointing in me. If I'm not I've never been arrested in life. I've never committed a crime. Not only that, I was like, come. I posted where I am. If I've not done wrong, I'm ready. If you want me to suffer, I'm not the first one. Joseph did, Daniel. So I'm like, come, it will be another feather on my cap. I had not done anything wrong, but they maligned my name. It was like, the headline was, not so moral after all. ESCC pounces, stuff like that, to date.
Oh, they said the ESCC is...
Yeah, they were saying they were investigating, I don't know what. The headline, then to put it so bad that nobody wanted to defend me. And then the headline in The Nation, which was very unprofessional, was Deputy Jesus could not defend himself.
He cannot perform miracles no more. He cannot walk on water.
Objective journalism would have said, either I've done something wrong and deal with the matter. But when you bring in the issues of my faith, I was like, you can't do that with Muslims. You would be lynched.
That's true.
A bomb would be thrown, God forbid. But they find it easy to malign Christians and so on. Anyway, that was my moment. I took it in my stride and I took a break. I wanted to go into consultancy. I give speeches and I'm paid more than my salary. I am a hot cake. I'm experienced. I have the 3 E's of greatness: education, experience, and exposure. You don't buy that.
What way?
They don't come easily. Education, experience, and exposure.
The 3 E's. Okay, that's new. I've learned that one today.
Yes. So this stomach cannot stand me. So you can't fire me. I fire my employers. I'm not.
You can't fire. Okay, me, you can still fire. It's fine.
No, I took it in my stride and I was out there. People thought I would run in Mwala. So even there, the MP was worried. I was not interested.
So you stayed in the cold. Okay, you stayed in the warmth. In the warmth for how long?
If you check actually that period, I was very surprised because when there was that published, I was on every paper and every TV station.
Yeah.
Provost Canon Wainaina from All Saints calls me and tells me, we are dealing this week with the 7 mountains of influence, and the entire church voted for you to come and be our speaker. We are live on TV. And I'm like, Chief, have you seen the stories? It doesn't mean, no, we don't care about those things, Ezekiel. I know your testimony. And I'm preaching, and I never stopped, and I was all over the country and abroad, preaching and speaking in big places and universities. I was shocked. When people don't read these things, I'm on the news for all the bad reasons. People are saying I'm under investigation. One time I walked to the ESCC because I wanted to know, you guys, what are you investigating me about? And I found a Muslim guy. You know, I tend to think there's something very special about Muslims. This guy called me and treated me so well. He told me, you are not under investigation. We saw these things. We saw them like, so let us know your story. And then we talk about it, and he tells me, look, he took me outside. Because I told him, where is corruption in all this thing? He tells me it's not about corruption. In fact, he took me outside and he told me, do you see the sign? It doesn't read a corruption office. So we just want to hear your story. If anything, because they were saying I had overpaid myself some salary, I was supposed to be surcharged and so on. So it was about that. He told me, if anything, that is called surcharge. It's not a corruption offense. So if we found that you had really been paid more than you should be paid, we just take the difference and tell you, pay back this. It's not like you stole.
But they were putting it per month. Yes.
Yeah, you know, sometimes, and it could happen. You know, I used to approve those kind of things. You can approve somebody to go to the US for a week, Nini scans order, and you have already paid them, or they go for 3 days. They're supposed to refund the balance. It's a surcharge or refund or whatever. It's not corruption. But these guys were putting it like all those things. And remember, you are sacked while you are working. These things are put on the media. You have no time to defend yourself. And they put a replacement. And so that it looks like you cannot defend yourself, they put a mkamba. They even made it tribal. Do you know, anytime I was trying to defend that matter, I'm told, utaki mkamba apate kazi. You know, this country. They took a guy from CA.
Oh my God.
Immediately, without any process. These ministers were most evil. That's why that government lost. How Baba lost? Baba would have been the president. Do you know how he lost? Because of arrogant, immoral ministers like those. By evening, there was somebody who was taken by policemen in uniform, 20 policemen. My secretaries were fainting. You know, it was chaos. And then they sealed the place like a crime scene. Drama, people abusing power. They are not there anymore. Now I can slap those guys in the streets. But they are in the power, man. They are in the power.
This happened. Yeah. Then how do you end up in MCSK? And you're saying MCSK even pays you lesser than what you deserve?
Because I don't work for money. By the way, I was being paid well. Okay? Through a process, I was being paid well. But I had served my term. The board thought I was good for this country. Right now, even the current board, we have under conversation. They wanted me to go back. And I said, no, I did my bit at KFCB. Wow. Yes. If I wanted to go back at KFCB, it would be the easiest. The country needs me. That office needs a Mutua. Okay. Yeah. But I told them, sorry, I did my part. I can contribute and help in the conversation from another point. So I decided to go on consultancy. I decided to reinvent myself, maybe to become a lecturer in the university and so on. That was my idea. People thought I would run, but remember, this is August. The elections are the following year. I was not ready. And I don't believe in running or going into politics as if it's the way of life or I must do it. It's not life and death. In any case, I don't need to be an MP. Yeah. Do you know I believe as Ezekiel Mutua? And this is practical. There are times I get to the airport, naambiwa na watu siwajui mimi. Mheshimiwa pita. Na naona waziri yako nyuma yangu anaambiwa weka hapa. I'm like, you don't know him. He's our CS. It has happened. Real but stories.
Most CSs are not known. Even personally, I don't know.
I have a bigger ID than most ministers.
I know.
You agree? Sio kuringa. Okay? But nikitokea mahali, face yangu inajulikana kuliko
front ya office.
Yeah, you meet some MPs and you're like, you're MP for where? Not with me. They'll say, oh, mheshimiwa. So somehow, I have that name recognition and a brand. Yeah. And I can run for politics and I'll give people a run for their money. But I don't believe that I must become a politician. All of us cannot be politicians. I believe there's fulfillment in what I'm doing in changing the course of humanity. For example, what I'm doing at MCSK. Okay. So this, while I was seated there and relaxing and freshened up, you know, those things are behind me, I see an advert in the newspaper. And I see MCSK. And then I remember I used to interact with them when I was at KFCB. I would even fund their trainings and partnerships and fund them completely. And go to speak in Naivasha or other places, their chief guest. And it struck some chord in me. So I applied. Then I'm shortlisted. Then I go for the interview. I'm number one. Then they call me and they give me a salary, and I say, unfortunately, I think it's not worthy. I can help you from another. And they balance it up and tell me, if we give you this offer, will you be able to do this? Will you change this? Most of the things that were dogging or were bedeviling MCSK then was a very bad name. Terrible name.
Yep.
Unjustifiably so. People maligned the society, cartels in the music industry, and painted MCSK as the villain when it's not the case. So when they told me their story, because I asked them questions, I realized Kenya Corporate Board was on their neck, and there were a lot of issues that were ongoing. And I served in Kenya Corporate Board as a director for 7 years. So I told them, if that office is your problem, I know the corridors. I started that office myself. So they loved me more. Then the fact that I held offices related to copyright, and I was taught copyright law at the University of Nairobi by the best lecturer, Professor Ben Sihanya, and I scored an A. So I and all this. So I told them, give me the job. I think what you need is a fighter. You need a personality. You need a big name that can fight for you. So give me the job. They didn't have money. Their accounts had been frozen. They didn't have a license. We were starting from the scratch. It was actually better starting from the scratch than building MCSK. When I see where we are today, Oga Obinna, where we have now a license, we are doing public sensitization, we are distributing money. People are no longer getting the amounts of money that Calligraph Jones used to post, 2,000. An artist of that caliber, Kinabian. When I see them now getting 100-fold, and I've not been at MCSK for long.
Yeah.
When I see the way we have been able to bring together the stakeholders, bring together the staff, and so on, I am a very proud man. I believe that God called me here. I don't know how long I'll be here, but I think there is a cause I'm serving, because I believe you can get our artists to be paid well, to be remunerated. If we can take care of their royalties and re-engineer this entire ecosystem and work with the stakeholders, because Oga Obinna, music business is an ecosystem. You can't blame the CMOs. There is also the role of the artists themselves to produce quality music that builds our morals, our families, and inspires hope and builds our culture. There are so many players who must work together. It has to work seamlessly. Okay. The government has to do its work, give CMOs licenses on time, and not 1 year. You know, we have been getting even 3 months. How do you plan for business with 3 months? So it was a joke. And then you demonize CMOs. Now I've said, and we have taken a law to Parliament, to 3 years. Okay? Because that way you can plan for your business. Then the government has to fight piracy, has to create awareness, has to help our young people to get to understand the importance of their talent and so on. Okay. The musicians or the artists themselves must produce quality music that resonates with the target market. Okay. You must know you are singing for who. Are those the guys with the money? Remember, like the choir I had with the Saru? I was not against a song. I was just saying, you're so gifted, but this song, if I, as a CEO, I can't play it in my car, play it in a corporate event, are we not cutting off that market? And then you're getting likes and views on TikTok and on YouTube. Is it translating to money? That was the conversation, by the way. She's amazing, and I was very happy to meet her and to listen to her. She's just amazing. Yeah. So the artist must produce music that resonates with our culture, our values, and also the target market. Then we must have the users, broadcasters, people who use music for commercial gain, to understand the importance of paying, complying with the corporate law, and paying. Otherwise, these musicians who are committing suicide and dying, they're dying because of you. So you're using their talent and you don't treat it like anything. You want to sell the water, the tea, and everything, but you don't think music is important. You don't prioritize paying for music as an important element of your business. And yet we know broadcasters cannot run without music. We know Matatu industry, they play music. All these public service vehicles, most of the businesses, they use music. You use music in events, in road shows, and so on. If those guys were to pay, for example, broadcasters in Kenya today, they owe us 1.4 billion. Okay? Remember, we distributed just 20 million the other day. Can you imagine if they paid? And these are not poor media houses. They just don't prioritize. They don't think copyright is important. So you look at all that ecosystem. We've aligned it properly. Then we protect. Then the government has to publish the right tariffs. I'm very happy that CS Ababna Mwamba has done that. Then been dropped in 2019. You know, almost by 90%. Now we are at par with the rest of the world. And I think within a very short time, with the kind of awareness we are creating and the structures, musicians in Kenya will be some of the richest in the world.
They'll get good money.
They'll get good money.
CK, let's turn on the backlight for Mheshimiwa here. Now, there is something that I wanted to ask you.
Yes.
You've just entered MCSK and somehow things are moving. People are seeing things are moving.
Yes.
It's not that that position did not have a CEO before.
Yes.
Or CEOs before.
Yeah.
You get where I'm going?
I get it.
What's your trick as a CEO? Because when you're at KFCB, it wasn't moving. Then things happened.
Yes.
Now you're at MCSK. Now things are starting to happen and you're hoping for the best.
Yes.
What's the trick?
That's simple word, ecosystem. Working with people.
Okay.
Re-engineering and re-engineering the entire ecosystem to understand their role. Okay. From the staff to the directors to the users of music to our regional offices and all the agencies that are related. I think my strength has been I lead by example. So, and I'm very vocal. I think we need to be able to articulate our agenda and sell it to the people who matter. And I think that's what I've done. I've been able to bring hope, and there's a reason for people to look forward to producing music because they know music pays. I've said it, but I've also gone ahead to prove it. That's why in this distribution, the story of 600 and so on is no longer happening. And I told people, they didn't think it was going to happen. Now we have someone like, a big musician like Ruben Kigame, who tells me the biggest amount he got was 4,000, who has gotten 122. I'm distributing again in April. We will distribute again in August. And I believe we'll keep in that trajectory. By end of this year, we'll do 1 billion. Okay? Wow. By that time, now you'll be looking for me, sitakuwa available. I'll be, nitakuwa na maringo kidogo. Because the money is there. I've told you broadcasters alone, or 1.4 billion. You just need to engage them. There are supermarkets, big retail chains that have not been paying. The matatu industry, they have not paid since 2019. I've approached NTSA. We are now doing joint prosecution with the Kenya Copyright Board and the other CMOs. And I can tell you, it is better for people to obey and start paying without us taking them to court. And I think it's very important to have even conversations like these ones that make them understand the importance of respecting intellectual property. Then I brought in CS Kithure Kindiki to provide police support enforcement, because you can't, as an officer, I can't go to the road and stop a matatu and check whether they are playing music. They will run over you. You need the police to put a roadblock and check, and we are coming to that. So they had better pay before we get there. And everybody who is using copyright for commercial gain, please prioritize payments. Once you engage them, you create awareness, you approach them, you give them demand notices, they don't comply, take them to court. I'll prosecute this matter. And just like I did at the Kenya Film Classification Board, I'm not going to lose this one. So there'll be money.
Okay. After
the broadcasters alone, if they paid, by end of this year, you'll see
the smiling to the bank.
Money, yes.
Sema taminda kwa nimpataka 50.
Kwanza wali kuja update one. We have almost 60 songs now.
I have so many. There are 54.
Yes.
And
I can tell you, if that music is registered with MCSK, you're going to see change. One of the challenges that we are finding is that our members also didn't know what they ought to do. I've seen even including from my backyard in Ukambani, a song that has millions of views on YouTube. And this guy is wondering, why would you pay so-and-so? Have you seen my song? We don't pay for the views on YouTube. You come and register. We pay for use of your songs by broadcasting stations, by matatu industry, places, public places, not on YouTube. YouTube pays you separately. So we want our members to come and register their catalogs, update their works, provide their PIN numbers, their KRA PIN, provide their bank accounts, so that we just process. And we're using scientific method to determine the airplay given to your music.
But how do you know where my song is played?
We get the log sheet, the media houses, broadcasters.
Nowadays, people are moving away from media houses.
You are playing on where?
DJs, there are DJ mixes on matatus.
Yes.
We have DJ mixes that people play in the house as well.
Yes.
People play them on YouTube as well, DJ mixes. People have them on YouTube.
Yes.
House parties, events, corporate events, NDR parties, bashes, kinyozis, pool area, a local bar, all these places. How do you get that?
If you
my music
Google
is
the
played?
consolidated tariffs for music, you'll see that all those areas are covered. Now, the ones in matatus, because we can't know how many times it was played, they don't have log sheets, so we give the general license. The same with supermarkets.
No, I'm talking about artists, myself. Yes. How do you know my song has been played a number of times in?
No, I've told you there are two ways of distribution. One is general. General is scientific because we are getting the log sheets from broadcasters whom we have licensed. And they're the ones who tell us, Oga Obinna's song played in the morning, it played this time. But the other way of distribution is the general one, where we give a general license and then we say we distribute this money among our members because we can't tell exactly where it was played. So when you combine the general distribution with scientific, you get a lot of money. Okay. So the general is because we are not able to determine how many times a matatu played your song, how many times it was used in an event. But that also counts for something, because sometimes even broadcasters may not play your song.
That's true.
But it could be out there. I'm told there are some DJs, unless you see them.
Even some media houses, unless you do something, the song will be played on the media house, but the DJs
So we use both ways to ensure that there's fairness, because there could be a guy with not very appealing song that is being played, and Oga Obinna's song that we know is good is not being given airtime. So there are all those variables. So to ensure that there's a balance, we distribute scientifically, but also use the PPP.
Okay. Artists know that MCSK collects revenues on their behalf, right? But which other avenues are MCSK using to get money for the artist?
You see, like the places you have said on YouTube, for example.
Yes.
Google used to pay at 1.7% since 2015, which was nothing to write home about. All the repertoire, Kenyan repertoire on Google, was earning us 1.7%. Now, we went to South Africa, we started with the digital hub, African Digital Hub, Capasso, and we raised that amount to 16.5 from 1.7.
Oh, wow.
So going forward, musicians will be getting a lot of money from YouTube, through the African Digital Hub. Then all these other places like TikTok, like Mdundo, like Boomplay, we are all negotiating, including Skiza Tunes. There's a lot of money from Skiza Tunes.
Billions.
But sometimes, because of lack of capacity for people to negotiate good terms, they sell away their birthright. Now, when we create this trust and build the ecosystem and bring in structures, there will be no reason for musicians to go and negotiate individually.
Yeah. CMOs, people know more of MCSK, but there's a couple of them. There is Camp, there's Prisk, there's Kekobo.
Kekobo is the regulator.
It's a regulator.
The regulator. But
so
these
Prisk,
other
Camp,
two
MCSK. What's the relationship between them? Because I understand you collect money together. But MCSK has just given 20 million to artists. I've not heard Prisk or Camp announce even 1 million, even 100,000 to artists.
But people are on our case.
But you've collected the money together.
Yes.
So that means, I'm just thinking, tell me if I'm wrong. If MCSK is giving 20 million, that means probably it was 60 million. Mukasema chukua 20. I'm just thinking.
Let me explain to you how it works. The license, if you look at the tariffs are gazetted by the minister in charge of the sector. When the latest ones were gazetted by Honorable Abamna Mwamba last year. They are called joint tariffs, joint consolidated music tariffs. And the way music works in a song, there are 3 categories of rights. The major rights are represented by MCSK. They are the rights of the author, the publisher, the composer, and the arranger. 4 categories of rights. Then there is, and that is what is called, actually, this business is called copyright business. Then there are related rights. So it's copyright and related. Related is other people bring value addition to the song.
Performer.
Like a producer, performer. So there is Camp representing the producer that gets 21%. Then there's Performer, Performing Rights Society of Kenya, Prisk, getting 24%. MCSK gets 54%, 54.8%. So the license is called KPM. So every hotel, every broadcasting station, they are licensed by KPM. We collect jointly, and then when it gets to the bank, 54.8% is MCSK, 24% is Prisk, and 21% is Camp. Now, what you do with the 21, 24 is a different story because we don't run those boards. The members should be able to find out from Camp and Prisk. Yes, because the MCSK as a board, it's a company separate, but we are the main, okay? Now, it's sad that people on our case, and they don't know those other.
Let me talk to wasanii wenzangu kidogo.
Waelimishe.
Wasanii kuje kwa mkutano kidogo. Kuna 21%.
24%.
24%.
Yes.
Ya Prisk na Camp.
Yes.
We don't know where they've gone. That is 24 times 2. That's 48%.
Yes. It's a huge
As the producer of my songs, I don't get that money. As the performer of my songs, I don't get that money. But MCSK, as the copyright side, they're giving me a little percentage for whatever I've done.
Yeah, related to the category of rights we represent.
Yes.
Yes.
Camp, Prisk, we need to sit here. We need to have this conversation.
To be fair to them, yes, they have their own boards and they have their own distribution rules. So probably we have done it in January. I think it's the
communication.
We have done it in January. Maybe they will do it. So
maybe it's not been happening. Yeah. I've been an artist for a while.
It's the right of an artist to know.
I'm telling you, I've been an artist for a while. I've not
like
seen
now.
it.
I've told you. Yes. I'm distributing between 25th of January, yes, which we have already done,
it's done.
Up to 29th of March.
Okay.
That is the first quarter. From April, there will be a new quarter. So between April and August, we'll have another distribution. Between August and October, we'll have another distribution, and then December. We are doing 4 times. I've gone public. You know how you hold people to account. You run a public notice. I did one in the national dailies and announced we'll distribute.
Yes.
If you don't do that, you'll get other priorities. And sometimes rents and salaries and court cases. You got to be determined to pay people their money. We are determined, Oga Obinna, to ensure that the money we collect from users of copyrighted musical works goes to the pockets of musicians. I promised it. And that's why I was telling you, there's something about integrity in leadership that should count. People should not just take it for granted. You don't just come and lie. I promise we'll make Kenyan musicians billionaires, and we have started the journey. It may look like a drop in the sea, but ultimately, one time you'll see somebody walking with a check worth the millions.
Camp, Prisk, we need to have this conversation. We need to sit down. We need to find a better way to communicate to artists. Because personally, if I am Obinna and I don't have the information of how to access the Prisk money and the Camp money, my money that is going through Prisk, actually, it's actually my money. Imagine the millions. And Kenya kila mtu ni msanii.
Yes.
So let's find a better way to communicate. Let's have a sit down here with one of your directors or CEOs so we can have the conversation. MCSK, beautiful.
Thank you.
Tumekuwa na mashida na nyinyi.
Lakini
kama wasanii tumekuwa naangalia sema MCSK, which nonsense.
I've heard people used to come there to riot. But you came there and you were so diplomatic.
Sasa
when people communicate and we walk the journey together because it's your society. Chama ni yako. I'm actually your employee. Yes. Without an artist, I don't exist. When you come to the office like you came, and then you update your records, and you tell me, when are you going to pay me? Just before I left the office to come for your show, I was with King Kaka. He came updated. He asked me, when are you likely to pay me? I gave him a date of 18th. Tukutane hapo. Sikazaki tuko nazo. We are going to run through. Usinipatia.
Mimi ukunipea tarehe, niwacha na wale majamaa tukaenda kwa computer kuregister na vitu huko.
Nikamwambia vile tuko na mambo mingi, give us 2 weeks. So we calculated on 18th, you'll be in office. And by the way, for you, you don't have to wait for that long because you are ahead of him.
Okay.
So I will surprise you. I will surprise you. Yes, it will be earlier. It will be probably next week.
But you're doing a good thing.
Thank you, sir.
A lot of people like to hate when they don't understand.
Yes.
And what they don't understand.
You can say that again.
A lot of people like to hate when and what they don't understand.
Yes.
Like huyu mtu mimi sikipendi tu. Like umpendi kwa
nini?
Simpendi. So like most artists also like MCSK. The reason why we were like that because we've had history with the MCSK.
Yeah.
And when you saw you came in, you were just like, okay, now
there goes
again. But now with this idea, we might end up on the good side. So asante sana.
Thank you.
Tumeongea for too long. Allow me to wrap up with 3 last questions. Number 1, do you still have your diplomatic passport? Kuna wakati ulitrend na diplomatic passport.
Do you know somebody?
I
have told you without knowing you'd ask that question that I've done shuttle diplomacy.
Yeah.
You don't go to meet president when you have to go to apply for a license. Unaitwa ukiwa mashambani
na visa.
Yeah.
So
the reason you are given is because of the special duties you are being given. So it was brought to my office. I did not apply. It was brought to my office because of the assignments I'm doing for the president.
Okay.
And I could not go public and say, oh, ni vile nimetumwa na rais. No, you don't do that. Now, Cyprian Nyakundi picked it. And he said, the people in the constitution who are supposed to have diplomatic passport, ni huyu, na huyu, na huyu. Huyu ametoa wapi. And you know, I could not respond. So he went with it and people trolled me. But now there was a mistake that was done by the immigration department.
Okay. Who
ought to have clarified. Instead, they played to the public gallery and called a press conference and said I was given that diplomatic passport for when I worked at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and I was supposed to return it. So I called the director and I lashed out. I was very bitter. I was like, you don't malign me. I mean, I didn't ask for it. So I told him, because that time I was in the US, I told him I'm in the US using the same diplomatic passport. When I get back, nikifika airport, nipate mtu hapo ichukue. Because I don't need it. So nilifika tu na nikaipeleka huko kwa ofisi na nikaipeana.
So hauna?
No, of course they gave it to me later, but
sema chukua kwani hujui jokes.
If today the president gives me an assignment, it will be given to me. You cannot be doing a presidential assignment and you are going to apply for a visa. So it was those circumstances, because by virtue of the position I was holding, and I told you I was traveling to, you know, shuttle diplomacy, you are meeting this, you are taking a letter by the president to this. It goes without saying. But now, you can't go public and start responding to guys on Twitter or on X now, and they say, oh, I have it because I'm doing this for the president. No.
Okay.
Yes.
You are
so I don't have it the same one, that one.
Okay.
No, you nilirudisha.
Nyingine.
You nilirudisha.
Okay.
And in any case, I'm the diplomat myself.
Okay.
Doors open not because of a booklet. They open because of who you are and your character.
Okay.
Yes.
Finally, are you running for office? 2027, 2032?
I actually believe I'll be president of Kenya one day. My dreams are valid. It may look crazy. Yeah. I don't know how it will happen. But I believe this country needs me, and God knows how it will happen.
So you want to run for presidency?
I don't know whether I'll run in 2027 or whether I'll go for governorship, whether I'll be a member of parliament or senator. I leave that to God and decision that I'll make with my family. For now, I'm doing what I believe I should do. Even if you took me to the village, as long as God gives me good health and my faculties are functioning as they are, you'll be hearing this name.
Amen.
My cause is not done.
Yes.
I have a purpose for God, for this country, and I have to accomplish it. Come rain, come shine. How it will be done, I don't know. But God, with God, all things are possible. I'm a believer in miracles, and I'm not doing it because I want power or I want money. I am doing it because there's something wrong with the system. I'm doing it because there's a problem with our country. I'm doing it because of the injustices that I see. I'm doing it because I'm a representation of that child from the village who is being told you have no space at the table, because you are not a child of so-and-so. I believe the real hustler has not shown up. He will show up someday.
Of course.
By God's grace.
Amen.
Yes.
You did a post about me a while ago, said you're seeing greater things coming my way.
Yes.
And I appreciate it.
Do you know what happened? I woke up to pray and you came. Whether it's because I like you and watched you or whatever, I don't know.
Okay.
I prayed for you and I posted. You did not provoke me. In fact, we never used to interact as much.
Yeah.
I wrote it out of conviction. My brother, keep the faith. You'll go far. I saw this, and I'll say it on this so that it goes on record, that you, in terms of health and wealth and contribution to the comedy industry, entertainment industry, you will match Steve Harvey, if not better. Amen. That is your level, global level.
Amen.
You have the persona, the intelligence, the demeanor, the deportment, and everything that goes with greatness. And I bless you, my brother, and I wish you well.
Amen. So how about you conclude this episode with a prayer for the show and for us as well and for the country?
Father, in the name of Jesus, I pray that Oga Obinna's show will rise to greatness, and that this place, everybody who will appear on this show will taste your blessings and will be a blessing to the show, to the people involved, and to the country. And I pray that you raise this talent to greater heights, that this country and the world will know that because of you, Oga Obinna became great, and that he will prosper and become very prosperous. We bless him and bless our country, Kenya, and everybody who is talented and who is trying to hustle their way to make a living. God, we pray that you bless their hustle and their talent. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Asante sana. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming.
My brother.
We appreciate.
Asante sana.
Na tumeshukuru.
It is my pleasure. This
Your
was
conversation.
No,
iko sawa. About 2.5 hours like this. Mpaka na next guest nimejua mengoja. Mpaka akachoka, lakini tutamwomba msamaha. Hatuwezi kata. Tunakata kwa nini? This is live. And it is Obinna TV. And in case you didn't know, you are being interviewed by the CEO of Obinna TV. So nothing is being chopped.
God bless you, my brother.
Asante
I love you for real. And I'll be praying for you.
Of course.
I'll be praying for you. Thank you for inviting me.
Let me help you.
Yeah, I look forward to
Yeah.
yeah.
Asante sana. Yeah.